Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Man, my legs look terrible.
Bull trying to be like,
put your pants on.
Bull trying to be like me, man. I'm inspired.
At the last minute, I was like, we're going to the game after. I'm going to wear shorts today. I don't care. I brought a pair of jeans with me.
Oh, look at that.
It's tone. Look at them calves.
But it's just.
I wish I had a dollar bill.
It's not a great look. But you know, what are you going to do?
He said I wish.
It is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, by the way, which it's just crazy if you think about it, because I mean, so many people died on that day, and it's just obviously changed the course of the war.
My sister-in-law and brother-in-law are actually in Normandy today.
Oh, really?
For the celebration. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and he's stationed in Germany.
Yeah.
And they went to France for this.
Yeah.
I believe President Biden's there today to commemorate the 80th anniversary.
That's crazy. I mean, obviously, at this point, there can't be that many people still living that were there.
Yeah.
It's probably more than I think. But there can't be that many veterans. You'd have to be at least 98 years old.
Yeah, right? 98 to 100 and 101.
Right.
So.
But if there are any people in that are veterans of that era that happen to be watching, well, man, you're as brave as it gets, man, because
I was reading a little bit about
most people don't have the guts to do that, certainly. You were? Anything of note that you wanted to mention?
No, just the courage to do what they did, and obviously a massive point of World War II.
Yeah, I was reading, I just saw a tweet from Pat McManaman, who we all know, and McManaman. I'm confusing Dave McManaman and Pat McManaman. And Pat was
those Irish guys.
Yeah, and Pat mentioned that his uncle was there, and that guys all around him were dying.
Yeah,
it's horrible. I mean, but an honorable day for those who did fight for the country and all who do fight for the country. But today specifically, the 80th anniversary of that. On a much lighter note, there's a lot of sports to talk about today. Later, we'll continue to discuss the Cavs coaching situation. Will it be affected at all, potentially, by what's going on with the Lakers situation? There may be a connection, possibly. We'll dive into that later. Also on the show, we talked last week, I think the three of us, about the possibility of the Guardians trading for Bo Bichette, making a significant move. And now a national baseball writer has commented on that potential situation. Guardians didn't play last night because of rain out. Apparently they're not as tough as we are at Little League. We got our game in.
They canceled that early.
Very early. Yeah.
6 o'clock, like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
But they don't have the ability to, what I did is, our game was supposed to be at 5:45, right? And so what I did, I said, I looked at the radar, the WKYC radar, at 3 o'clock, and I saw, all right, it looks like the rain's going to hit about 6:30. So we start at 5:45, we're not going to be able to finish the game. So I called the other manager. I said, let's try to move the game up to 5 o'clock. Guardians can't move games around as easily.
Right.
So we got all the kids there. We started the game at 5, and we made it through the 5th inning. And then the rains came, but the game was over based on time anyway, just as it happened. So we got the victory yesterday, and we were able to play before the rains came. But
Bull is officially off the hot seat.
I am right now. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. We got 6 games left in the regular season. We're in first place at the moment, although the team in second place plays tonight. So if they win, they jump back a half a game ahead of us.
Are they really that good?
They beat us, first game of the year, they beat us 13-12, and we blew it in the last inning. We had like a 4-run lead in the last inning. We let it go.
So if it came down to y'all in the championship, that should be must
Well,
see.
it couldn't because they're in our division. So we'd have to play them to get to the championship. We'll see. But I want that number 1 seed because then we get home field advantage.
I didn't know you was like that. You were a really good coach, man. You went from,
I don't know that I'm a really good coach. I'm really good with the kids. I don't know if I'm actually good at coaching.
Well, I think don't you think that's the biggest
I think it's
impact?
a big part of it. Yeah.
This team sucked every year until this year.
The first 2 years.
What's wrong with you?
Hater.
He finally got some talent.
Hater.
Why you
bringing up the past.
The past is the past. Leave it.
We made the championship 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Win 'em, lost every one of them.
You stacked the team. You got your
Or
son.
3 years in a row.
Your son's 7 years older than every other kid in the league. He's got the deepest voice in all of Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, we got a full house today.
Look at we got yes. Let's go ahead there, Mike. You want to as we bring you in, Mike? Why don't you introduce everybody that's watching the show today? Can you do that?
Yeah, this is a 5-pack of McNuggets in the house with the King McNugget, which gives us 6. And I apologize for calling Anthony's dad Mr. Antonelli a McNugget because he's not a McNugget. He's Anthony's dad. We have Earl's daughter Yana, Jason's kid AJ, and I'm not quite sure
Sebastian
the names
and
of
Jack.
the other two.
Seb and Jack.
Now, allegedly, AJ and Sebastian and Jack are in the same grade, right?
They are, yes.
I mean, look at this.
They're best friends.
They're best friends, these three. Put the camera on them.
Stand up, guys.
They're
AJ
in
looks
what
like he could
grade?
be their Jason, I mean this respectfully. AJ looks like he could be their creepy babysitter.
Yeah, like what grade are you guys in? 7th?
Yeah, they just finished 7th.
Just finished 7th
going
grade.
into 8th.
Like
It is kind of
AJ's two
funny.
buddies, like they look like normal 7th graders.
It's kind of funny.
AJ looks like he's been held back for 2 years.
AJ spent 3 years in juvie.
Yeah.
He just got out and is starting
Yeah,
again in
juvie,
7th
right.
grade.
He drives to junior high and shaves on the way there.
So we got a packed house today, so it's going to be a fun day. And then most of us, Tyvus, I don't know why you're not going. Why are you not going with us to the game?
Well, unlike everybody else
Yeah.
here, I have other obligations.
I have a job.
I have other obligations.
We all have other obligations.
So I have to get to Columbus because I have to work tonight as well.
okay.
So
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Big shot.
I couldn't tell them to stick it.
Yeah, well, all right. So, but all of us besides Tyvus are going to the. Oh no, Steve's not going either.
Good. He wasn't invited anyways. That's
Steve
for sure.
was invited, but he's
Steve
not
was
going.
not invited.
Oh, there we go. So the rest of us will head over to the game, but we are now going to start with some Browns conversation.
Before we dive
Yeah.
into the Nick Chubb conversation, which
Yeah.
is where we are going to start, Tyvus, Jason, you guys weren't here yesterday when
That's
we got
right.
the breaking news that Barry and Stefanski got contract extensions. Real quick, a minute each, but thoughts on the decision from the Browns and the execution of the deals to make sure Barry and Stefanski are locked up for at least the foreseeable future.
Oh, well, I mean, when I first saw it, I thought of LeBron James' famous quote, "It's about dang time." Like, what took so long? Obviously, it's the right decision to make. The way that Kevin Stefanski has got these players playing for each other, have them being selfless. Like that's championship DNA, and I think that they will achieve that at some point. Obviously, they got to get some guys healthy. If they come back strong and healthy, there's no reason why this team can't be successful for many years to come. I think Andrew Berry has done a remarkable job of finding talent and building depth. As you know, 17 games plus playoffs is a lot. To have guys that can step in there and still be effective, that's hard to do in this league because there's a lot of guys in the league that's stealing money. No offense. They stealing money, but you find the right guys that's dedicated to their craft and want to get out there and don't skip a beat when the starter goes down. That makes you a special person. So shout out to AB for having the ability to figure out talent, I should say.
I think it's a really big deal. I think it's an important benchmark moment, almost really, for a franchise that's been a punchline and just the definition of instability and volatility and toxicity for decades. To finally have it right, to realize they have it right. Now, one bad year and they're going to fire him anyway. But
That's not true. Two.
it's the NFL.
Certainly too bad.
Two bad years.
2 bad years.
But it's a sign of planting your flag in something you believe in, rewarding guys who have done a good job, who've done it the right way, who've built this thing up John Dorsey laid the foundation here, and these guys have come in and really built on it. I think Kevin's done an amazing job. I think Andrew's done a great job. I wrote in November. I thought they should have been extended in November. And to your point, what took so long, at least they got it done. So it's done. It's in the books. I don't know how many years. I don't think that's out yet. But, the headline here is that the Browns finally got it right with the front office, with the coaching staff, and now they could hopefully enjoy the fruits of that success. Because how many times have we said, the longer you're in a role, the better you're going to get at it. And now these guys have made some mistakes. They've learned from their mistakes, and now they can begin Chapter 2 or Chapter 3 or whatever chapter you want to refer to this as.
And part of that includes, as I discussed a little bit yesterday, is that now they've got to take it another step.
Absolutely.
The first 4 years, This is the best 4-year stretch since the 80s for the Browns, which is
That's
great.
unbelievable.
But it wasn't a great 4-year stretch.
That's why it's unbelievable.
Right? Exactly. So for the Browns, it was a great 4-year stretch. For most teams, it's not a great 4-year stretch. It's an okay 4-year stretch.
Right.
The next 4-year stretch, you need it to be a great 4-year stretch.
Yes.
A real great.
A lot more than one playoff victory.
That's right.
I just think that the next phase for me is now that you got your draft picks back, hitting on them, keep them draft picks. I
Yes,
think
that's huge.
if this franchise want to take that next step, you got to start hitting them draft picks.
Because you
correctly.
can't eventually.
you can't pay everybody.
You can't pay everybody.
Yeah.
You got to replace with some young guys. One of the guys the Browns are paying, not crazy money, is Nick Chubb, and for the first time since his injury, Nick Chubb spoke to the media yesterday. We're going to get to that next. Mike.
Yeah, we're going to get into that right after a quick word from FanDuel, who continues to be a stellar sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's winner-take-all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, so it was great to hear Nick Chubb and see or if you didn't hear it, just see the comments that he had. I thought he had some really interesting comments. You rarely get much of note from Nick Chubb because he's not much of a talker, at least to the media. I mean, he's not rude or anything. He's just not, at least publicly, that outgoing of a guy. I don't know how I mean, you were with the Browns for a little bit, Tyvis. Did you get to interact with Nick Chubb much?
So I didn't get a chance to interact with Nick Chubb, but I have interacted with players who have interacted with
And what do
Nick
they
Chubb.
say?
And they say in the locker room he's actually a very funny guy in the
Oh, is
locker
he?
room. Yeah, and they say it's ping pong or something they play in that locker room.
Yeah.
He runs the table.
Oh,
Like
really?
he is the man in that locker room on that. So apparently to the media, he might be kind of standoffish.
I don't think he's
Well,
standoffish.
quiet.
Yeah.
He comes off as quiet.
Yeah, I don't want it
and
to have
all
a
of those.
negative
Yeah, he comes off as
connotation in
quiet,
any way,
but in
yeah.
the locker room, they say
Yeah.
he's very relaxed and
Yeah.
actually he's a pretty funny guy. Actually.
Okay, that's good to hear. Jason, you interact at least somewhat with him in the locker room, don't you?
Yeah, and I don't think he wants much to do with us, which is
Yeah.
fine. Like,
Right.
I don't
But not
care.
in a rude way.
Not
He's not a jerk
It's
about
not
it.
important
Yeah,
to him, and
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's when I don't care.
Yeah.
I kind of respect it because that's talking to us doesn't help him get better, and he's one of those guys always focused on is winning and getting better. So
As a player, Jason, I enjoy talking with every reporter.
Tyvis was always
I could see
popular
that.
amongst the media.
I could
Come
see
here,
that.
let's
which
talk,
is why
let's
you're
talk
in the
about
media.
it. I'm not in the
That's
are.
what Zach Meisel told me, that when he covered Tyvis one year in college, he would always go to Tyvis.
Come on, let's
because he was
talk
always willing
about
to
it.
talk.
And you, like, as a reporter, it's easy to pick up on that. You know the guys
Right.
who like to talk and like to have conversations, and you know the guys who want to be left alone. And you respect both sides. Like,
Yeah.
you want to talk, we'll talk about the game last night. We'll talk about where you went to college. Like, guys love talking about their college team, especially in season
Right.
or what's going on with where they went to school or something.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and talk to them for 15 minutes about that, or the house they're building, or hunting, or golf,
Right,
or whatever
right.
it is. And then there's other guys who they're
not interested.
They're just not. You're not important to them, and that's fine. You talk to them when you have to.
Yeah.
You get what you need to when you have to.
Right.
And then you cut out the BS, and you just don't. You leave them alone.
And Nick Chubb is really, Nick Chubb never does anything controversial, never does anything negative. There's never like a reason that you have to talk to him for that reason.
Right.
So like he just, he'll answer your questions, but
Yeah, I just think that in today's society,
Yeah.
it's better to be more open to it and talk.
Sure.
Because it's just so much that
That
comes
being
with
said,
it as far as endorsements and all those things.
I mean, if you like, I probably should admit this, but it's pretty obvious. If you're nice to the media will be nice to you. If you're not nice to the media, a lot of times they take it out
Right,
on you,
but-
and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, no.
but it is.
Well-
Or you could be so good like Nick Chubb that it doesn't matter.
Right,
Like,
it
it just
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter.
It's not, and again, I don't look at Nick Chubb as he's not nice to the media.
Correct.
He's just neutral.
He just
He's neutral. It's
he-
just-
like you could a lot of times like guys have their specific days that they talk, and I think
Right.
Nick is
Right.
he's a Thursday guy. I don't remember. It doesn't
Right,
matter.
right.
So he talks on Thursdays, and there's a lot of other guys like Joel Battoni. You can talk Joel anytime.
Anytime, right.
You
Wyatt
go up and talk
Teller's
to
like
Wyatt.
that,
Go
isn't
talk
he?
to Wyatt
Yeah,
anytime.
yeah.
But like with Nick, if you go up to Nick on Monday. Or not in there on Monday.
Yeah.
You go up to him on Wednesday, he'll probably tell you, I talk on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I got no.
It's just
yeah.
everybody has their own way of handling
Right,
things,
right,
of
right.
doing things.
So it was interesting to hear him talk, and he said, something that really surprised me. I think it was the first time ever in a good way. And do we have that clip, Mike?
When he talked about Cleveland?
Yeah,
And the
and he
Browns?
talked about with the Browns,
Yeah, I just took it from me and Rapport, who transcribed the quote. I hope
Okay.
this is exactly
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're talking about, Steve. But take tag board full. He was talking about after he got hurt, quote, the Browns could have just cut me dry, left me hanging, right? But they did a great job. I want to be here in Cleveland. They know that. So he came to a great point. He went on to talk about he's not practicing yet. He's not rushing himself into practice. But when he feels ready and the team feels ready, he'll get back in the field. I hope that's what you're referring to, Bull.
That is what I was referring to. The reason I was a little surprised, I guess, is because I hadn't really thought of it that way. I think most people, and again, most people think, well, or some people would think, well, the Browns kind of screwed him over a little bit by cutting his salary. And he doesn't look at it that way at all. And maybe he's just saying that publicly. I don't know how maybe he feels differently behind the scenes.
No,
but
I think
I don't think he would have said it that way.
No, I think he comes off as a pretty genuine guy.
Yeah.
And I think that we talked about that.
Yeah.
Me and Jason talked about it. Like, really, it's how cutthroat the Browns really want to get. You know, because they could just say, we ain't paying you nothing, and nobody else is going to pay you nothing anyways
right.
because you injured.
Right.
So,
Take it or leave it.
yeah,
Here's our
like,
offer.
that
If you
could
don't
have
like
been,
it.
but
Yes.
it does seem like out of respect that they have for
Yes.
Nick Chubb, that they like, we can't give you the whole thing, and I think you understand why we can't give you the whole
Right.
thing. So what we gonna do is we gonna at least give you way more than somebody else will, and can you at least accept that? And he probably is a reasonable guy and was like, you know what, put my incentives in there. Yeah, we can do that.
And that's where I think the Browns did right by him, because they've given him basically the opportunity to earn most, if not all of it back.
Right. Yeah.
It's just an incentive-laden deal now, whereas a lot of teams, I think, would have gone the route that we talked about of, I don't know, man, $5 million, take it or leave it, coming off your injury.
I think there's two interesting things here. Yes, you guys are right. A lot of teams would have said, see ya, who cares?
Especially running back today?
Yeah. I also think there are a lot of players that, even though what you guys are saying makes sense rationally, I still think there's a lot of players that would have taken it as an insult or a slight. But neither of those things happened here. Nick Chubb didn't take it or appears not to have taken it as a slight at all, which is I think the right call, but I don't know that all players would have thought of it that way. And to your point about the teams, it shows you that the Browns know what we've said a lot, that Nick Chubb is more meaningful to them and to this franchise than the typical running back.
I agree with that statement. Obviously, he does. It's impossible for you to be like, yeah, we're going to cut your salary $10 million and you're going to be okay with it. Like, no, nobody's going to be happy about that. But like I say, I think the part where he got at ease is the incentives part, where he was where he was like, they was like, you know what, we'll even give you a chance to make it back. And I think that's when he was like, you know what, this organization really does care about me. They really do want to see me succeed and make money. So that was nice from there. And I think that's why at the end of the day, he's at peace with the decision. Because, listen, he's glorified in Cleveland. Even if he doesn't take another snap in Cleveland, he'll be a legend in Cleveland for the rest of his life. And this is probably where he wants to be. So it's hard to go to another place. Nobody else is going to view him the same way Cleveland fans view him. If he left here and went to Atlanta, well, maybe not Atlanta because he's from Georgia. If he went to Buffalo, like they're going to, all right.
No, but you're right. Not only would he not be there as long, but he's probably, he might not be the same player anymore. We don't know until we see him on the field. So nobody cares what you did at other stops.
Exactly.
Once you're on my team. I don't care that you were great on Team A. You're on Team B now. You got to be great here or I don't care about you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I don't know. And I think of all the players on the Browns, Nick Chubb, more than any other player to me, is the guy I could least take seeing in another uniform. Even more than Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio, anybody else. The thought of Nick Chubb wearing another uniform is horrifying to me.
It would hurt. However, given the conditions that he's in right now, if it was Myles, I'd be.
I understand. Myles Garrett clearly is a better player right now. I didn't mean it from that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't mean it like right now this year.
Sentimental
but
reasons.
For sentimental
reasons, I understand what you're saying. I thought you were saying competitive reasons. I was going to say.
No, not for competitive reasons.
Well, speaking of seeing Nick Chubb in a jersey, that brings us to the actual question here.
Yeah.
We heard Nick talk about he's not practicing yet. He's ramping up to get able to practice. Do you think we'll see him in a Browns uniform for week 1? Has that changed after hearing him talk yesterday? Your thoughts on whether or not he'll be available?
I mean, the fact that he's not practicing, I guess my first thought was, Well, no, he's not going to be ready for week 1. And then I'm thinking about it again, and I'm saying, well, we're still little over 3 months from the start of the regular season. Nick Chubb does not need to practice. He does not need, correct me if you think I'm wrong, Tyvis, I don't think he needs to practice. I don't think he needs to play in the preseason.
He ain't doing that, no way.
I think in theory, if he's able to practice a little a couple of weeks before the season, then he's good to. If he feels like he's good to go, yeah, I think it's possible he can play week 1.
I think that the thing when you talk about an injury at this standpoint, the number one thing for me is his mindset. They can tell him you're 100% clear, but he still might not be the same. And until he feels that contact, till he gets out there and he practices with the team and be able to do cuts and stuff like that, he'll truly know when he's ready.
Yeah.
And I think it might take a while. I know how dedicated he is. I know how if anybody can bounce back from this injury, it could be Nick Chubb. But when you just give all of the things that went into that injury, I just think it's going to take a while. And the fact that he's not practicing now, I think he's just starting to run, correct? I think he's just now running.
There's video of him running on tracks.
Yeah.
So, I just think it's going to take a while. And that cutting part of it, what made Nick Chubb is making guys miss, being able to cut, and being able to get vertical right now.
Right.
I just don't think he's going to be there. And if he's not going to be that person out the gate, or if it's going to take him a while, I think they don't need to rush him back out there. He don't need to rush back out there, and the team won't need to rush him back out there.
Jason, I don't think they'll rush him, but I wonder, would they consider? Let's say they feel like he's ready for week 1, but not a full workload. Do you bring him back for 4-6 carries in the first couple of games? You did just say, what's the point? Let's wait till week 5.
I think I think in his mind, he probably feels like he'll be ready before week 5.
Yeah.
Now, as the team, is it your responsibility to pull him back, even if he thinks he is ready sooner?
Right. Protect the player from himself.
Protect the player from himself. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that there's some truth to that in this. So I'm not ready to say for sure he's going to start the year on the PUP list. I think in his mind, he probably feels like he'll be ready before then. And we'll just have to – it's June.
Yeah,
so
right.
we'll have to wait and see as we get closer here. Tyvis knows better than anybody, and I think you're 100% right in the cuts. It's one thing to run on a track and to feel good, but the first time you take a hit on the knee or the first time you have to put your foot in the ground,
right,
it's a little bit different. So we'll see, but I don't think it's if I had to put money on it, I don't know that I'd expect to see him out there for week 1, but I don't think it's impossible.
Remember, Boobie Miles got back on the field. Boobie Miles thought he could make the cuts the first chance he had.
And they should have pulled him out after the first play.
He
tried to cut, and
they should have brought him out.
He couldn't
right
do
there.
it.
That's true. All right, Mike, what do you got for us next, buddy?
We're going to move on here and talk a little different NFL topic, but a quick reminder that every Friday and Monday you can catch G. Bush on the Ultimate Brown Show. Every Monday you have the Ultimate Guardian Show with Adam Bull and Zach Meisel. Every Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what day we do it, Jason and I do an Ultimate Cab Show. And then if you want extra content, some lifestyle, some culture, or the Pearl, every Thursday with the Ultimate 216. So you guys, make sure you guys tap it and tune into those as we continue to put up more content on our YouTube page. Speaking of content, PFF is pumping out content at a historic rate right now, Bo. They are going through their top 32 and 32 rankings for all positions, and they did their cornerback rankings yesterday. And we're going to run through the top 25 cornerbacks, and then I'm going to have you guys react because 3 Browns made the top 34, and we'll get to those in a sec. Here's top 5. Sauce Gardner, Trent McDuffie, Darius Ward, Pat Surtain, and Jalen Johnson. We'll do quick thoughts real quick. Any issues with top 5?
Tyvis? You're the cornerback.
Yeah, you're the expert.
No, those are solid names right there.
Yeah.
I know the guy from Chicago had a really good year. Who was 2? McDuffie at the slot. He was really good in the slot. PS2 still, I told y'all he's the best in the league to me. And Travarius Ward for San Francisco had a good year as well. So right there, I don't have a problem with.
We
none
talked
of those
about
names.
Jalen Johnson when they played the Bears last year. He was really good.
He made himself a lot of money this year.
6 to
got
10,
paid.
Mike.
All right, 6 through 10. Jalen Ramsey at number 6. Jair Alexander at 7. Kendall Fuller at 8. Michael Carter, the Jets slot cornerback, at 9. And Teron Johnson at 10. Tyvis, real quick thoughts on 6 through 10.
Jets in the top 9.
Ramsey, when his first game back, he had them 2 picks, and he made a big difference, with the Dolphins. I don't like the way that they played that defense over there, which is why I think Fangio is gone out of there. They're more press man. They was more off over there, and he hated that. Jair Alexander had a really good, solid year this year as a number one. Kendall Fuller, I really wasn't hip to Kendall this year. I mean, obviously, I trained with Kendall.
Yeah. Isn't that 3 in the top 8 for Miami? Because didn't they have somebody in the top 5?
2 in the top 8.
No, they got 2.
2 in the top 8.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I didn't know Kendall was balling like that. Michael Carter, obviously, he was one of the top slots. And that Johnson dude from Buffalo, they nickel, that dude make plays.
So you don't think Denzel is not unfairly out of the top 10?
Denzel is not right now in there because Denzel missed how many games last year?
3?
It was only 3.
It was a big 3 that he missed.
Yeah.
I just think that when it comes to productivity on the ball, Denzel does get a lot of PBUs, but it was at a time where I feel like they stopped targeting him to where the other guys had picks, and a lot of them dudes is in the slot, so they're getting a lot of passes thrown their ways and getting a lot of interceptions. And for some odd reason, if you make plays in the slot, it's like amplified for some odd reason, and that's why those guys are in there. So, but right now, he could fringe around that 10 spot. I can see Denzel being there. Let me see the list.
Let's see if he falls in the next 5 category. This is 11 through 15. 11 is Darius Williams of the Rams. 12, L'Jarius Sneed, who just got traded to the Titans. Brian Branch, who was a rookie last season in Detroit, is at 13. DJ Reed at 14. 3 Jets cornerbacks in the top 14 before any Browns, by the way. Just want to point that out. And then Rasul Douglas, who got traded from Green Bay to Buffalo. He comes in at number 15.
I mean,
he should be,
like I said, Denzel should be around 10, 11, somewhere in that area right there. L'Jarius Sneed had a really good year last year as well. I can't believe he's so far down the list. Like I said, I think for some odd reason they're amplifying these nickels, which I get it because it is tough to play inside there, but it's really diminishing the outside role, and I don't really like that.
It's almost like it should be 2 separate lists.
Yeah, because let me see how many nickels is in there? It's like 5 nickels in the top 10. Like that's
There's
ridiculous.
been a couple. I'd have to go back, but for sure you had Carter, you had McDuffie, who played a ton of slot last year, but they had L'Jarius Sneed on the outside, so I'm not sure how that works. Teron Johnson from Buffalo, at least 3 or 4 times.
Did Kendall play in the slot?
I'd have to go look at the snap count to get that to the end.
All right, let's see 16 to 20.
Here's 16 through 20, which is where Denzel Ward comes in on the list. They have Marlon Humphrey at 16, Denzel at 17, the first Browns cornerback on the list, Jamal Dean from Tampa Bay at 18, Trayvon Diggs from Dallas at 19, and Asante Samuel Jr. at number 20.
Marlon Humphrey had been a great corner. He's been hurt a lot the last couple of years.
Yeah, Denzel missed 4 games last year.
Yeah.
Marlon not Humphreys. He missed 7.
And the year before, I don't think he played at all, right? Or
he played all 17 in 2022.
Yeah.
This is why PFF is dead to me. Like it just
Come on.
I've
said that for
but
months.
that don't even make sense. Like
Guys played 9 games the last 2 years. He's always been really good, though. When he
is. He's very. He punches the ball out. He gets picks and all of those things. So I give him that. But come on, man. Like,
I would have.
How is he above? How is he even above Denzel from last year? Like that don't even make sense to me.
I'm going to admit I'm a little biased, and I'm not watching cornerbacks around the league as much as Tyvis is. But to me, Denzel is right at the back end of that, somewhere between 8 and 12. I think
that's
he's in that range.
I agree.
And I'd have him higher, but I'm probably a little biased.
So we're going to get a big picture question here. Let's go through 21 through 25 to round out the top 25. They have Devin Witherspoon at 21, Carlton Davis at 22, Stephon Gilmore at 23, Greg Newsome comes in at 24, and Tariq Woolen at 25. Martin Emerson came in at number 34 on this list, just a heads up, FYI. So the Browns had 3 in the top 35.
Right.
All 3 came after all 3 of the Jets cornerbacks. So I want to start with this question on this list. You saw all the 1 through 25, and then, like I said, Emerson at 34. Of the Browns trio, is Denzel the most incorrectly ranked of those 3? Or do you think Newsome or Emerson have a better case to be higher or lower by more slots?
I'm surprised that Greg Newsome is that high.
Yeah.
I am too, actually.
I don't even...
But it goes to my point.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, they amplify slot play. I don't know what that's about. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I played in there. It's difficult for sure.
Yeah.
But, man.
The problem is, I don't know like we don't really know, like where should Greg Newsome be? 30, 35? I mean, who knows? Same thing for it's hard because outside of maybe Tyvus, how much are we watching other corners around the league?
What did Newsome had 2 picks last year?
Yeah, he's that's never been his thing, according to Jason.
Picks aren't his thing.
No.
It's not like his numbers was like crazy either. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
what's the most egregious? Denzel being 16, too low. Emerson,
17,
Newsome being 17, Newsome being 24, too high.
Emerson is.
Or Emerson too low. But how much higher can Emerson be?
Let me see that last slide again.
He was 34, Tyvus.
Let me see that last slide again.
Show him 21 to 25.
Yeah. Nah.
And I could read
Emerson's
you
not,
26
except for
through
maybe
32 if
Newsome.
you
He's
want.
not better than the rest of those guys, right?
Nah, he can't go on that one. Maybe it ain't that egregious.
I just feel like it's Newsome's too high to me, but maybe I'm underrating Newsome.
Do you want the next couple, the in-between, real quick, the 26 to 32?
30, whatever?
Yeah, so Roger McCreary, who I'm going to be totally honest.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
know him?
I don't know about
Even Tyvus doesn't know.
I never. He's on Tennessee. He's 26. Derek Stingley from Houston's 27.
I've heard of
He's
him.
good.
He's a good player.
He's good.
Darius Slay, 28.
Slay was out last. He was out for a lot of last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he missed some time. Tyson Campbell from Jacksonville, 29.
He's a good player.
J.C. Horn, 30.
If he ever stays healthy, he will be a good player.
Deron Bland, who set the pick-6 record last year, 31.
Yeah, I mean,
He was like a feast or famine player, right?
I mean, him and Diggs is about the same.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
either
yeah.
gonna bomb them they either gonna give you 200 or they gonna get 2 picks, like it's whatever.
Joey Porter Jr. from Pittsburgh was 32.
He's a solid
and then
player.
James Bradbury was 33. Emerson was 34, and Steven Nelson was 35.
That's about right.
I think Emerson, in my opinion, I think Emerson's fairly ranked. I think Ward is underranked. And I think Newsome is way overranked. That's my opinion.
And when you say over, you mean too high. He's better. He's underranked.
Yes.
He's
yes,
ranked
yes.
too highly number-wise.
I think
He's
Newsome should
undervalued.
be.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not as big on Emerson as the rest of you guys, but I think he's better than Newsome. Personally.
I agree with that.
You think Emerson's better than Newsome?
I do.
Oh, okay.
So I would keep Emerson about where he is, and I'd have Newsome behind him, like between 35 and 40, and I'd have Denzel Ward between 8 and 12. So that's for me. But again, I'll admit I don't know the other team's corners as well.
You would hope, and then Jason, I'm curious what you think. You would hope when PFF puts these out, these are the people that should be watching more than just 1 or 2 teams on a close basis.
Sure.
My guess is they're relying heavily on the analytics because that's their thing. And Newsome grades very favorably.
Yeah.
in a
Well,
lot
to
of the
create the
advanced
analytics, they
metrics.
are watching film.
Yes, of course.
But
I'm
there's
just
flaws
saying,
there.
I mean, I can pull up all the grids you want.
Right. And he's high on some of those.
Greg rates very highly.
There are games where we're like, Greg Newsome didn't play that well, and the grades are good.
Yeah.
And I feel like, that happens with players on every team, both good and bad.
Yeah.
I feel like that the opportunity, like I don't know what they grading it off of. Like, are we just talking like pass plays? Like, is like when the ball is in the air, how they do? Like, is that what we talking about? Are we talking about the stamp on a game? Because if that's the case, I understand why nickels are voted higher because they're involved in the run game and all of those things as well. So I get that. I don't know what they're going off of. To me, it seems like they're talking about like playmakers, like who makes the best plays, and that's how I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I mean, Newsome does have pretty much more opportunity. He should have double the opportunities that Ward or Emerson would have because he can also make a stamp in the run game as well because he's probably asked to come up and make some tackles and stuff like that.
I'm trying to put this together in real time. I haven't really thought about this, but we have always sort of degraded slot corners. Fair? Like the money makers are on the
you're
outside.
Not as good. That's why you're
if you
slot
can't play
corner.
on the outside, right? You're not as good. You go inside.
Yeah.
You're telling me that now is the game changing to where there's more value on the inside, or why do you think?
And that guys, and to your point, and because I think you're trying to make this point, correct me if I'm wrong, are they now putting guys at slot corner not because they're the third best corner on the team, but because they're just better at that role, and they might be the best corner on the team?
I think
potentially.
I think it just depends on the system that you're in because you got to think about wide receivers today. It's not just Calvin Johnson's going to be on the outside.
Right,
That's
right.
not the case anymore.
Yeah, they were
You
all moving about.
If you checking digs, you got to play inside, outside, and all those
Right,
things.
right.
So the value is, I always say the most value is if you could play inside and outside, which Newsome has shown that he
but
can
he
do
hasn't
those.
been good outside.
It doesn't matter. It's still at the end of the day for them 4 games when Denzel went out for them 4 games.
Yeah.
You weren't like, oh my God, what are we gonna do?
Well,
that
they didn't play well those games.
But that's not. But you still wasn't like, oh my God, we don't have a corner anymore.
Yeah, okay.
You have
That's
somebody
fair.
capable and competent.
Exactly. So that's where his value comes in. Now, as far as the DB goes, I think that, like I say, he got to be able to do both. Like he's got to be physical, which gets me about him because his biggest complaint was he didn't like the Joe Woods defense because he didn't want to be in run fits that much. And now that Jim Schwartz came and made his responsibility not that much in the run game, he loves it now and he's thriving off of that. So to me, I don't know like what he's comfortable with. Like, is he just want to be somebody that's just gonna play man to man? Because that's all the Browns play anyway, is man to man and a little cover 3. So you just want to check this man and that's it. All right, you could do that anywhere. But I think that at some point you still got to have some value in the run game and come up and make tackles, which he's closer to the ball, so he's going to have those plays. He's going to make tackles that Denzel and Martin's not. He can force fumbles that Martin and Denzel can't. And on top of that, people love to throw over routes and all of these mesh routes. And if he can check those, that's the easy throw for quarterbacks. If he can make plays on that, obviously his production is still going to go up. Yeah. So I just think slots have more opportunity to make plays on the ball.
There's a guy in Cleveland who's on Twitter, who has his own analytics website. He goes by Cleve TA on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And he's friends with Anthony Lima. And there was one time and he and I text sometimes, and I invited him to lunch once because I wanted to discuss with him, like, how do you come up with some of these numbers? Like, how does it work? And he explained it to me. But I would like to do it again, and I think that would be really valuable, especially for somebody like Tyvis or G, because they know the intricacies of football better than I do because they played, and in your case, G played at a high level and you played at the highest level. So it would be interesting to get like some background.
Like
on that.
PFF don't have like a requirement to how they graded this. Like, is this coming into this season? Is this overall career?
Oh yeah, what did he say?
What is this off of?
It's a good question.
What are you
Mike.
judging this off of?
The intro to the article. Once again, John Costco wrote this article. We've had John on the show before. He lives in Elizabethton, Tennessee, but he somehow does Cleveland stuff. He was on the Locked On Browns podcast every week, so he somehow is tied. I'll read you the exact intro to the article. It's a quick 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
Today we continue our series highlighting the top players in the NFL at every position heading into the 2024 season, and here are top 32 cornerbacks in the league. These cornerback rankings consider several factors. PFF's coverage grade, which is primarily influenced by plays where the defender was targeted, ability to prevent separation, difficulty of assignment, and PFF on grade where the players were not targeted. Adjustments will be made for some players based on their health and snap count while also considering multiple years of context.
Okay, so this is all off of when the ball went to their player, what happened. That's how I
Well, not all, but obviously.
Well,
yeah.
He said it's heavily incentivized.
Yeah, right.
So basically, these are the guys that's making plays on the ball. Which you got the stats for Newsome, Ward, and Emerson on PBUs last year?
I can tell you Emerson. Not Emerson. I can tell you Newsome real quick because in the write-up, he mentioned that Newsome has 21 PBUs, which is tied for 20th over the 20th in the league over the last 2 years.
See, that's
20th in the league.
But that's
high volume.
Slots get more action.
But here's what I don't get, okay? And you see, and this is what makes it so complicated to compare players at any position in football besides quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and maybe tight end. With those positions, there's so many statistics that we all get, right? Yeah. And it makes for even if it's not even if they're not perfect stats, it makes it an easier comparison. Mm-hmm. With a cornerback, we're mostly looking at interceptions and PBUs. Well, okay, in 2 years, Greg Newsome had how many PBUs?
He had 21 last year in 2023.
Yeah.
Emerson and Newsome both had 14.
Yeah.
Ward had 11.
So you're talking about, at most, a guy's got like 1 a game. So you're essentially, between interceptions and PBUs, you're probably talking about one play a game. So there's so many other plays. Like, I can't just judge a cornerback based on one play a game that he makes or the other guy doesn't.
Yeah, you
There's
can.
a lot of plays in that game.
Yeah, you can. I got a great friend that will sit here and argue about this.
What we say?
He dealt with this many years of his career where he would sit there all game and they would not even come his way, and he gets one opportunity to make a play. That's it, just one opportunity. And if he didn't make the play, it looked like he was just the worst person in the world. But not everybody forgets the fact that for 70 other plays, they didn't even look his way.
But that's my point. Like, you can't just.
He'd be like, he said, you can't get bored. He like, you sit there, you'd be like, maybe this is the play that they do. And then you go 69 plays in a row, and it's still nothing happens.
That's incredible.
Then on the 70th play, they want to throw a little hitch route over there. And it's like, dude.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was hilarious to actually watch because I didn't believe it. I actually watched it live. Like, they really not going to target this man.
Would he be bored? Like, was he bored on the field?
So what he would do is he'd try to find other ways to impact the game. And then it'd be times where he make plays that have nothing to do with him. Yeah. Which I told him you can get in trouble by doing that, but he's Richard, so what are they going to say to him?
What are they going to do to him at this point? Once he reached a level, there was nothing that could be done. All right, Mike, what do we got next?
Let's talk a little Guardians, guys, but first I want to remind everyone that this next segment about the Guardians is brought to us by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about the Guardians game last night getting canceled. I was so excited and looking forward to watching the Guardians battle the Royals coming off that Tuesday night masterpiece, and to see it get canceled at 5:30 when I had my whole night ahead of me was just disappointing, and it really, really, really bummed me out, which is why I'm so excited today to go to the game with you guys. It's going to be a blast, but when you set your whole day up around an event and then it gets rained out, it really is just a bummer.
And they're not even making it. It's not like they're making it up today. The game's been rescheduled, I think,
it's
for
just
August.
A bummer. Yeah.
So it becomes just a 2-game series.
And when that happens, therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get those things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Bull, last week, we had a discussion about Bo Bichette potentially being a trade target for the Guardians. And those came off a report that our EP, Steve Becker, had sent us in the group chat that was just discussing potential fits.
Sure.
Well, earlier this week, ESPN baseball insider expert Jeff Passan wrote an article. And Steve, take tagboard full. I mean,
ESPN is basically useless besides passing for baseball.
Yes.
Let's face it.
And I'm not going to read this word for word, but essentially he tied Bo Bichette to the Guardians as well as a potential landing spot. So when we talked about it, we had fun with the discussion, but I'm not sure how realistic we thought a trade between the Guardians and the Blue Jays could be just because of the financial side of it and the prospects needed to get Bo Bichette. But now a guy like Jeff Passan is putting 2 and 2 together. Bull, do you think there's a realistic chance the Guardians would be willing to make a move of the caliber it would take to get Bo Bichette here? Is it actually a realistic possibility?
I do think it's realistic. I think there are a lot of reasons, and Jason and I have talked about this a lot, why the Blue Jays and Guardians making a trade makes sense. Now, here's the 2 things I'm concerned about. The 2 hurdles that you have to overcome here are, A, we don't know that the Guardians are willing to spend any money to increase the payroll. We're hopeful that because the team has been great so far, not good, great so far this season, and they're 40 and 20, 3 weeks away from the halfway point of the season, that we are hopeful that the owner will spend some money. But he hasn't spent much in recent years. They have been aggressive in the past, pre-COVID, when they've had a contending team. They've spent money. We know all the moves. They went and got Ubaldo Jimenez. They went and got Andrew Miller. They've done the offseason between 16 and 17. They signed Edwin Encarnacion. But in recent years, they've been unwilling to increase the payroll, certainly during the season. If they're going to do it, this is the year. That's the hurdle from the Guardians' perspective that we don't know. We don't have the answer to. The other hurdle is, and this may just be posturing, and I think it's just posturing, but the Blue Jays have consistently said that they are not going to trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Bo Bichette. Now, the Blue Jays play in a big market. Toronto, I believe, is the fourth biggest city in between Canada and the U.S. They have a whole country's support in theory. They get pretty good attendance, and they've had a relatively high payroll in their recent history, especially compared to the Guardians. So they, unlike the Guardians sometimes with players, it's possible that the Blue Jays could re-sign both Guerrero and Bichette. So if they think they're going to re-sign Bichette, specifically in the Guardians' case, because Guardians are not trading for Guerrero, then maybe the Blue Jays ultimately are unwilling to trade him. But my thought is that the Blue Jays would only sign one of those two guys, and if they could get a good return for Bichette with 2 years left, even though he's not having a good season so far, I think they will. I think they'd be willing to trade him. So the biggest question to me, guys, is Larry Dolan willing to spend the money to increase the payroll? Because the fit, besides that, is perfect.
Funny you mention that. I just wrote an article today on that
I
exact
have not seen it yet.
exact thing of money can't be the obstacle to getting a deal done. I'm not going to go into all the details now, but basically the league, there's 4 revenue streams from the commissioner's office to the teams, and a team like the Guardians makes a significant amount of money from the commissioner's office every year. This year, the collective bargaining tax is based on last year's numbers, which were the highest ever. 8 teams paid a total of $208 million, I think it was, in luxury taxes. Half that money goes to players' benefit retirement. The other half is dispersed among the small market teams. So when you count the 4 revenue streams, that one being the biggest, I never could get to the bottom of what the actual numbers are. They protect these things. It's ridiculous how much they guard the numbers.
Well, they don't want the fans to know the truth, which is that they cry poor and it's baloney.
So the money should be there for a type of move. Now, the Jays and the Guardians fit perfectly together. It's not just Bichette. If you look at the Guardians, what's their biggest need? Catcher, shortstop, and pitching. Like, Bo Naylor is having a terrible year. If you want him to be the long-term guy, whatever. For right now, this team on the field right now, what do they need? Well, they could use an upgraded catcher. They could use an upgraded shortstop, and they need pitching. Well, the Jays have a ton of pitching that could be available, including Kevin Gausman. Bo Bichette. Yusai Kikuchi is another one. Bo Bichette at shortstop, signed for this year for, I think, $12 million, next year $17 million. And Danny Jansen has a lot of injury history, but a massive power-hitting catcher. Plus, there's the relationship between the two teams of Cleveland and Toronto. Ross Atkins, the GM in Toronto, came from here. Mark Shapiro, obviously. There's a lot of connections between the two. It's a perfect match in so many ways. Yeah. And I think Passan was more or less just laying out exactly what we said. It wasn't necessarily reporting that the teams are talking. It was just, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he's connecting dots.
And there's not many teams in contention looking for shortstop. Shortstop is usually a pretty solidified spot, so that's going to narrow the field. Now there's two. Anytime you talk Guardians in trade, there's 2 teams with better farm systems than Cleveland, and clearly better, that are going to be buyers, in Baltimore and the Dodgers. And they're both going to be looking for a lot of the same things that the Guardians are in terms of pitching. The Orioles have been shredded with injuries this year to their staff. They're going to need pitching help.
And the Dodgers might need a shortstop.
Betts can slide. Betts can move around.
Right, because, Betts is an outfielder by trade. He played second base last year, but he's been playing short because Lux has been just very bad.
That's where the concern is.
Orioles don't need a shortstop.
Orioles do not need a shortstop, but the Dodgers could use one. The Guardians certainly could use one. All 3 of those teams need pitching, and of those 3, the Guardians probably have the worst farm system of all. Not that it's bad, it's not, but Baltimore and the Dodgers are rich in prospects. Now, a team like Toronto needs to replenish, like they have a terrible farm system throughout. That's the ideal type of trade to make, where you may not get a top-level guy, you may not get a number 1 prospect from an organization, but if you can get 3, 4, 6, and 12, it's going to boost your overall health of your minor league system. And that's why I think a trade of Bichette makes a lot of sense. Are they going to do it? I don't know. But there's other names, like Randy Rosarina is having a down year in Tampa, but he very well could be available at the trade deadline. Not cheap, but obviously, again, there's synergy between those 2 teams. So I do think the Guardians need to be proactive. I think they will be. They very much did not spend over the winter. I think they looked at a weak free agent class and said nope. And plus, they kind of got stung, and I wrote about this today. They kind of got stung a little bit from Nolan Jones and Will Benson last year. Now, both of those guys have regressed. They haven't had the type of years.
Jones has been hurt.
Jones has been hurt, and he hasn't produced when he has been on the field. Benson hasn't played well. Benson's OPS is like 120 points below what it was last year. But the Guardians, I think, internally looked at that and said, we can't miss on our own guys. We have got to get it right on our own guys before we look elsewhere. We can't spend 3 or 4 years developing these guys, cut them loose, and then have them flourish elsewhere. And that's why they've sort of gone back to playing the youth. But I think you're going to come to a decision with these shortstops. Can we go into the postseason with Brian Rocchio and Gabriel Arias as the shortstops? And they've got nothing out of them. Nothing.
And here's the thing. You're 40-20. You're in great shape to win the division right now. A long way to go, but you're in great shape to win the division.
You're going to the postseason.
Yes.
You are. I think did we talk about the
There's only 10 teams in baseball over 500 right now.
Well, in the last 30 years, since the wild card was introduced, and now there's even an extra wild card team then going back to 95, but in 94, obviously, there were no playoffs. Since the wild card was introduced, 24 teams, not counting this year because there's 3 this year, Philly, New York, and Cleveland, but the 24 teams prior to this year that started with at least 40 wins in their first 60 games, 22 of the 24 went to the postseason.
Right.
10 went to the World Series. 7 won the World Series. This is a playoff team. This is not a hot start. This is not a hot start. We're almost 40% into the season.
And the numbers,
this is a good team, and they're going to the playoffs.
And the numbers are even more meaningful, as you said, because now there's another wild card. Most of that time there was only 2 wild card teams, and now there's 3. So, so the Guardians are in great shape. And as more of a casual baseball fan, Tyvis. But you've been into it. You're into the Guardians right now.
He's into the home runs. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
That's all this man cares about is the home runs.
When you look at this team as the guy who picked the Guardians to finish in the top 15 in home runs, do you as a fan, do you want to see the team?
Hang on, Tanner Bybee, I need to start out of you today, young fella.
Let's go.
We're all going to be there.
Go.
You were my bold prediction to catch Cy Young votes, and I have to sit here and listen to this man talk about home runs
unreal.
every Tuesday and Thursday, and it's driving me crazy.
The only better prediction was me saying that David Fry was going to have a breakout season. I had it.
I want y'all, while
y'all
will go to the game today and y'all enjoy y'all time there, just when that ball travels out, just make sure you think about me, okay? Think about that time. Where we at, Mike? Where we at now?
My God.
I'm looking, so you picked top 15, right?
Yeah.
That's your answer, Ty?
You're going to pull a hamstring from all these victories.
I don't know if I saw this in our chat group or I don't know. There's so many chat
13th,
groups.
by the way, Ty.
Okay.
Did you see that video that somebody created about how the wind is just pushing the ball out to right field?
We talked about this on the show last week a little bit.
I mean, I told you before, they did studies. Now, it doesn't mean that they were right.
Yeah.
They could have gotten it wrong, but I've had people tell me, we studied the park, we studied these changes, and it was not going to have an impact.
I saw this guy put together a video. He may have no credibility. I have no idea. Nowadays, who knows? It's about baseball. It wasn't that important that he had, whatever. But he said that he was talking about the home runs are way up at the stadium. And he said there was a ball. Remember that home run that I think it was David Fry hit, where you saw Andrew Chafin on the mound going like,
Kenny Powers?
Yeah. Apparently, there was a ball hit with the exact same launch angle to right field last year that was actually hit 2 miles an hour harder off the bat that got caught like 10 feet in front of the fence. So,
well, here's the interesting thing is the balls seem to be dead around baseball, except in Cleveland. And that's a lot of times people roll their eyes at launch angle and exit velocity and all that.
Right.
But there is a lot of math behind it that you can calculate how far a ball should travel if it's hit at this angle at this speed. And there's a lot of videos out there, you can go find them, of balls that were leaving the yard that were hit at this angle at this speed in the past, and now they're landing on the warning trails.
Right.
Do you want to play that video?
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Do you want to play the video for everyone to see?
Can you see
I
it?
have it.
Like, can you?
Well, let's just watch. Yeah, let's watch this.
Real
Again,
quick,
do we know who created this?
His name is Declan Goff.
In fairness, we have no idea if this guy is legit or not.
No idea.
But hey, let's throw it out.
Yeah, what the heck?
But real quick, before we play it.
Ready, fire, aim.
No, before we play it, because two things before we play it. It does back up what we had talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I also talked to Brian Shaw on Twitter, who's a weather guy, who talked about how the weather's impacted it as well.
I know
so
Brian.
There's other factors. But this does back up what we've talked about. And before we play it, let's put a bow tie on the Bo Bichette thing real quick, and then we'll do this.
Oh,
and
yeah,
move on.
let me go
But Bo Bichette, give me a scale 1 to 10, Bull, and then we'll go around the horn.
Yeah.
Not. What do you think the chances are that the Guardians would actually make that move? Is it above 50%?
Like how? No, I don't think so. No trade is above 50%. I think it's like 2 out of 10 they trade for him, which is pretty good.
I think I'd put a little bit higher than that.
Okay.
The Dodgers, if they make him available, this is a perfect spot. The Dodgers do concern me.
Yeah.
Because Betts can slide back to second. You can put Betts anywhere.
There's enough concerns about will they spend, will the Blue Jays trade him?
I think they'll spend.
Okay, I hope you're right.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
If the Jays make Bichette available, if they do trade him, I think it's either Cleveland or LA. I think that's where
I
it is.
agree with that. I mean, but why would he? Wouldn't he want LA for the?
I'm
won't
sure
be
he
up to
don't,
him.
he don't have any say in
not
it.
gonna be.
I'm sure he would want
This
LA.
is not the NBA. Guys go where they're traded. Unless they have a no-trade clause, which he does not.
Well, I'd like to have Bo Bichette on
Yeah.
this team because he usually is around a 20 home run a year
Yeah,
guy.
to your-
Right now, he's at
not
4.
having a great year.
Yeah, he's not having a good year, which means that you might be able to get him a little bit less, which probably not going to happen. But I think the chances of the Guardians trading for him is out of 10. You say
Out of 10, yeah.
3.5.
All right. You know, it'd be interesting. It wouldn't be good for the team, but I could see the Guardians saying to the Blue Jays, you know what, we'll give you even a better prospect if you take Miles Straw off our hands.
Yeah,
The Blue Jays would do it. There are teams that would do it because for most teams, he's not getting paid a lot.
He
Bad as
with the
is.
Clippers, right?
And he's been terrible there.
Really?
I didn't realize this till I was talking to Zach yesterday. I knew it was a high percentage. I didn't realize how high. Do you know 1/3 of the Guardians' payroll is not on this team? 1/3 of their
Miles
payroll.
Segura.
Segura, which was the remnants of the
Josh
Josh Bell. Shane Bieber's $13 million.
Who's the catcher from last
Loriano.
year? Zanino?
No, that was a 1 year deal.
Oh, okay.
Was he, yeah, he's
But
off the
yes,
roster.
you're right. Was
But you add up all the dead money, which is rare in baseball. Their payroll's right around $100 million.
The Mets have a ton of dead money.
Yeah.
I think they got like 75, 80 million.
Well, the
Scherzer and Verlander.
the Guardians' payroll's right around $100 million,
Yeah.
and about 1/3 of that
Yeah, that's
is
not
not
great.
helping the team.
Not great.
But also, the flip side of that should be like, I think after this year, that's all gone. I think.
So they can afford
yes.
they can afford to buy.
No, not Miles Straw.
Well, not Miles,
Yeah.
but that's $6 million.
Yeah,
They can afford to spend money, is what you're saying after this.
Hopefully.
Oh, they might as well make. Then you know what?
Let's
3.5 just went to 6.
But they have not had a good track record in free agency.
No.
And that doesn't mean that you stop trying.
Nope.
That's why
but-
they should make the trade. 3.5 just went to 6.
But they have not done well on free
have
agent.
not.
On big ticket free. They've done.
Big
I mean,
ticket for them. Yeah.
Ben
yeah.
Lively was a home run.
Yeah.
You know, they've always done well on the margins.
Yes.
But when they really have to invest money and put out big money on free agents, it typically doesn't end well.
And Encarnacion was fine.
Yeah, he was fine, but they also got out of that
Then
in
they
1
traded
year.
him. Yeah. Go
All right,
ahead.
here's the video we referenced. We'll play it, then we'll talk Cavs on the backside. But we'll spend a few minutes. This is the video that Declan Goff at least tweeted out.
Their stadium, which may have created a wind tunnel in their stadium, which might be making it a lot easier for players who hit home runs, and all of a sudden, they're hitting more home runs than ever. This ball only had a 10% chance of a hit. It ended up being a homer somehow, and the pitcher couldn't believe it. Jose Ramirez hit this homer in May. Last season, Max Muncy hit a ball 2.6 miles per hour harder with the same launch angle, and the ball went 31 feet shorter. Balls are flying out to right field in Cleveland. This podcaster first theorized in April that when the Guardians removed these shipping containers from right field, the wind stopped bouncing off the containers back towards the field. Instead, the wind was now flowing through the stadium, making fly balls go significantly further every time they're hit to right. Last season, before the renovation, Progressive Field had the fewest homers in baseball. This season, homers are up nearly 1 per game. The stadium has gone from dead last to 15th in homers. There have been 40 homers hit to right field that have had an expected batting average under 200 in MLB this season. There's been 10 hit in Progressive Field alone. No other stadium has more than 4. This ball only had a 3% chance of being a hit. It was only hit 89.5 miles per hour and had a launch angle of 33 degrees. No ball hit this soft and that high has resulted in a homer in StatCast history. This one was a homer. This time last year, the Guardians were last in home runs. Now they rank 10th. They have the 4th best offense. They're in first place and have the 3rd best record in baseball. But do you think the wind tunnels are actually causing the increase in homers?
He's not saying that's for sure the reason, obviously. I think the information he was using seemed pretty legit. I don't know that for a fact, but why would you put that out there randomly and just make up those numbers?
So the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show would put it on.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, it's a lot. If that was fake, and I think it's real because it checks out with the eye test and everything else we've heard. That's a lot of fake numbers to make up.
I know.
That could be
it is. It's an interesting conversation, but also, I mean, I'd also look at the road splits as well. How many home runs have the Guardians hit on the road?
Well, I know. I mean, the Guardians in terms of runs, in terms of home runs, I haven't looked at it. You know what? I'll look it up right now because I know the site that has it. Because it was a huge differential in home runs per game, home versus road.
This year?
Yes.
Much more at home than on the road?
Way more.
Oh, maybe there's something to it then.
Oh, okay, here we go. So, as of this morning, the Guardians are averaging total 1.10 home runs per game, which is 9th in all of baseball.
Okay.
At home, the Guardians are averaging 1.29 home runs per game, which is 5th. On the road, they are averaging 0.94 home runs.
It's about a half run home, about a half more.
I have the
They're
totals.
12th from the bottom.
I have the totals for you, Bull.
Yeah.
At home, they've played 28 home games. They have 36 home runs. On the road, they've played 32 road games. They have 30 home runs.
That doesn't seem that
It's not a crazy difference.
No.
So they've played 4 more games on the road.
And have 6 less home runs.
Right. I mean, that's a difference, but it's not a crazy
not,
difference.
no.
It's not a crazy
It's
difference.
not Astros trash can level.
I'll tell you what.
No.
I'm not accusing anyone of.
If my predictions is this good, I need to do something special
Here
for
we
the
go.
Browns, boy.
You're going to pop a calf, man.
You
better stretch.
Special for the Browns.
All
this
these
year.
friggin' victory
I
laps.
can't wait till we do bold predictions for the Cleveland
here
Browns. I
we
might
go.
say 17-0.
Jason,
Well,
I'll make sure we do it on a day Tyvus ain't on.
By the way,
Garrett will beat you to that 17.
By the way-
it's called Garrett George.
of the other 3 teams, so the top 3 teams in home runs are Baltimore, the Yankees, and the Astros. So I wanted to look at their home run splits.
Yeah.
So Baltimore, all 3 of those teams are 1, 2, and 3 in overall home runs and 1, 2, and 3 in home runs at home.
Yeah.
But guess which of those 3 is not at high home runs on the road?
Houston.
Baltimore and the Yankees are 1 and 2 at home and 1 and 2 on the road. Houston's 3rd at home, and they're middle of the pack on the
Check
road.
those trash cans.
Yeah, yep.
Check the trash cans.
Yes.
Y'all need to style.
All right, Mike. Pitching matchup today, we got Tanner Bybee, and who's going for Kansas City?
I believe it's Brady Singer. He just got pushed
Singer's
back a
going,
day.
yeah. Okay.
So we'll see if you guys are at the Guardians game today. Make sure you come and hang out, say what's
Yeah.
up, and we will be there in full force as soon as we get out of here. Let's talk a little Cavs now, guys, after a quick reminder that FanDuel is the official sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And right now, it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big one of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. But visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We have talked a bunch over the last couple of weeks on the Cavs roster future, whether or not they can keep the core four together, whether or not they have to separate it. And Jason, an article that you co-authored in The Athletic in the immediate aftermath of the season, mentioned that Darius Garland may request a trade, or his representation may request a trade if Donovan resigns so he can become a primary ball handler. My question today is, do the Cavs have to trade Darius Garland, or can they run it back with the 2 guards, Donovan and Darius, next season if that's the decision they choose to go in?
I feel like we've asked the same question 13 different times in the last 16 days.
We have not asked this one
We
yet.
have not asked this specific question? Okay.
I mean, do they have to trade him?
They have to.
No, they don't have to trade him at all. I mean, they've had some success with those 2 on the court together. Problem is, this past year, it was just so different looking that's where everybody's mind is. But you can't take away from the fact that at a point in time, Jason always likes to point out that Darius plays some really good ball next to Donovan. So it could work. They just got to figure it out. Like I said, I don't know what happened to Darius this year, and I still want to know what happened in his personal life because he was very affected and just looked totally different. I think that both of those guys could flourish with each other, but I think it's one of those things that as fans and people that watch, we're just getting tired of it. You know, it's so much of the traditionalist NBA person will tell you you can't win with two small guards. And when you go out there and see us losing games, you'll say to yourself, maybe they're right. But there is also stories where that's not the case. They did go on to win a championship. So I think they have to make their mind up of who they're going to be. I think both of them have developed in some way from being around each other. I think Donovan is still trying to instill that killer instinct into Darius. You're seeing the struggle with the shooting of Darius against the Magic, and then obviously he ended up hitting the shot, and Donovan ended up embracing him and those things. So you know that the love is there. I think it could work, but I think that it might be best for both of their careers if they did go their separate ways, because I do think in a way Donovan has stunted Darius's growth a little bit.
They don't have to trade him.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, no, they don't have to. And this could be an interesting summer because Rich Paul is one of the most powerful agents in the NBA. And if the Cavs want to tell him no, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Because, and I think, I was going to write about this hopefully next week. I think part of this may also, there's a lot of layers to this. And I think you have to go back to 2018. And they were presented with a trade demand from Kyrie Irving. And they acquiesced and they traded him. And I hated that trade at the time. I thought it was a terrible trade at the time. I thought it was, for the last 6 years, I thought it was a terrible trade. I thought that trade cost them an opportunity to win a championship. I absolutely, positively believe the Cavs could have won another title and beat the Warriors in 2018 had they had Kyrie on that team. And I know that's outrageous because they were swept by Golden State. But I talked to guys in the locker room who felt like we are one piece away. The Warriors are not the Warriors that they were before. This is a fragile team. If we could just put enough pressure on them, we could break them. And they just didn't have the pieces to do it because of that trade.
Do you also think there's a possibility, and we've probably talked about this, but I don't remember at this point, if Kyrie had stayed and things were better, is there a chance that LeBron would have stayed, or was he going to LA no matter what?
He was leaving.
That was it. Okay.
So
it was just about the 1 year.
Yeah, and that's the point I kept making is you could still trade Kyrie with a year left.
Right.
Like, are you going to get as much for him? No, but you have another championship.
So what? You didn't get anything for him anyway.
You could win another championship. Yeah. So and there's we don't need to relitigate the whole thing, but I do think that there's a lesson learned from that of, hey, we've got a really good thing here now. We don't necessarily have to break this up. This is a talented team, and no, they did. Like Darius had a bad year last year, which also complicates his trade value. And we've talked about it. I've kind of poked around the league. Who's got better trade value? And overwhelmingly, the answer was Jarrett Allen had better trade value than Darius Garland. So you're entering a time in the NBA now where the league is really trying to disband the super teams. And we've seen it with the collective bargaining agreement. And I've talked to teams who said it's going to be really interesting to see how trades look going forward, because this is not the landscape is changing. Rookie contracts have never been more valuable than they are right now. Mm-hmm. You can't, the second apron is real. There's basically a hard cap in the NBA. So it's really going to impact the value of guys. So Darius is coming off a down year. If the Cavs have the option of trading him for pennies on the dollar or keeping him, they very well may keep him. And they're, by the way, they're telling teams right now, we are not trading Darius. Yeah. Now, how much of that is positioning and showing leverage? Posturing, thank you. And how much of that is real? I do think there's a level of realistic, because I think we talked about on the show. I was talking to people in the organization before Game 7 Orlando that said, we are not blowing this up. We are running this back. This is a good team. Even if we don't get out of this first round, we are not giving up on this yet. And then obviously, our report came out. Yeah. The stuff with Jarrett happened, and I kind of stood back and said, I don't know if you can bring this back or not.
Right.
But the Cavs are not forced to trade Darius by any means. They could tell him no.
Obviously, they don't have to trade him. That seems like the pretty obvious answer. I think within this, you said something that I find fascinating, that maybe the years of this stretch of whatever many years it's been of super teams is going the opposite direction.
It is.
from my perspective, that would be a good thing for basketball. Now, the things that I dislike about the NBA, I think young people don't care about. I got no facts to back this up, but I would confidently say that fans of the NBA by a much larger percentage over football, basketball, baseball, and even hockey, people root for players more than teams.
Yes.
Right? Like,
that's
it's a
a
much
fact.
higher percentage.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because it's the players, unlike even quarterbacks in the NFL, don't have close to the power that the NBA star has. The NBA star can almost just do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. And for a fan, if you're a fan of a team that's not in a sexy market, and as much as we all love Cleveland, I think we realize that to most NBA players, Cleveland is not a sexy market, unfortunately.
Yes.
They don't have good taste. We know the great things about Cleveland, and they don't appreciate those things. I mean that. I'm not being sarcastic.
It's a great place to raise a family. If you're young, single, in your early 20s,
I get it if you want to go somewhere else. Okay. And if you're a fan of the Cavs or the Milwaukee Bucks or the Orlando Magic, yeah, like every time you have a really good player, you're always worried that player wants to leave. In Major League Baseball, in the NFL, with rare exceptions, hockey too, I know enough about hockey to know this, that players almost never are able to force their way out of a team. And ultimately, for the most part, in baseball and in the NFL, if you're willing to pay that player, like most players for the Guardians, if the Guardians are willing to pay them, they'll stay in Cleveland, with very rare exceptions. Now, the Guardians haven't been willing to pay most guys, but in theory, if Dolan spent like Jimmy did, he could probably keep most. Jim Thome would have stayed here if the Indians would have paid him the most.
Different time.
Different time. But I still think most of the stars in baseball will stay in their teams if the teams are willing to pay. Not all, but the most. Whereas the NBA, even if they sign, it really doesn't matter. Yeah. Because ultimately, if a superstar wants to be traded, he's eventually going to be traded. It may not be definitely the team he wants. It may not be exactly what he wants, but eventually it almost always happens. And so for fans, it's like, well, this sucks, Like, we have Donovan Mitchell. We should be excited. The conversation shouldn't be, is Donovan going to sign or not? It should be, how do we make the best team around Donovan?
Yeah.
But until he signs, and even if he does, yeah, they're going to try to build the best team around him. But by next year, he could say, you know what? I'm not happy here. You got to trade me. And eventually they will.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah. I mean, signing him doesn't guarantee the next 5 years.
Right.
It guarantees another 1 or 2.
Right.
And then you go from there.
Yeah, and that's frustrating. But ultimately,
where's the loyalty? Where's the loyalty at?
Well, I don't think there's loyalty on either side.
No, there's no loyalty on either.
And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
And I'm not even saying this to say that the players owe something to the teams or the fans. They don't.
No, they don't.
But it's better for the fans if players stay with the teams. It's just better for the fans.
Sure.
It's not necessarily better for the players.
Obviously everybody knows I'm a huge Darius fan, even though Earl hates him. I'm a huge
Earl's
Darius.
a hater.
Yeah, Earl hates him.
He's in the bathroom, so he can't
Earl can't stand the guy. I just don't, because I can see how the front office of a Cavs team could look at this and be like, what if we got one small forward, one wing, just one right wing piece.
Or they just blame JB for this whole thing.
No, whatever. What if they literally are just one piece away? Like, and then you decided and you traded everything and never figured that out.
But how would you get that piece?
See, that's the problem right there. But it's like, because I feel like they're all good, but for some odd reason they aren't good together, and that's the part that doesn't make sense. Like, and that's why I think JB is getting the blame, because it's like, dude, you got 4 pieces here that should be good NBA players that's very productive, but you can't make it work together? Like, what sense does that make? So I think that's why people look at him and be like, all right, it's got to be JB. So if that's the case, say a front office thought like that, then they could make the excuse to be
Right.
like, we could run it. We could get another
With a
coach
better
here that
coach.
could figure it out, and it could work. So that, to me, is how they could end up keeping all four.
Or maybe not trade Darius, but just trade Jared Allen.
I have more faith in the backcourt figuring out than I do the front court. If you have to make a change, and it's wild to say this because Jarrett was their second best player most of the year, but that would be the guy that I would target. That's the guy that I would.
well,
So maybe you trade Jared for a wing player in some sort of a deal. I mean, is that that's possible, right?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
Well, Evan's series against the Celtics put a lot of people at ease. With
I feel better about him after that series. Fair or not, I do feel better about him.
What are Cleveland fans clinging to more? Evan against the Celtics or Deshaun's second half against Baltimore?
Deshaun against Deshaun.
Well, Tyvus, that's a great segue into our next Cavs topic. If you want more Cavs talk, we're going to talk 2 more Cavs topics here. We did a Cavs show last night.
Real
Make
quick,
sure you guys
Mike.
check it out.
By the way, Evan Mobley has been a much better Cav the last 2 years than Deshaun Watson's been a Brown. And it's not close. Fair?
You interrupted the
Is
man.
that fair or not?
You're interrupting the
Fair
man.
or not?
Of course
That,
it's fair.
that Evan is a better calf than Deshaun's been to the Browns.
Yes.
Next topic.
Go ahead.
So I want more. We went 40 minutes yesterday talking Cavs, the head coaching search, some draft prospects, whether or not the core 4 can compete at the highest level or if it has to be broken up. Make sure you guys check that out on our YouTube page.
Can you
We
believe
got some,
Mike did a Cavs podcast without me yesterday?
That's
Can you believe that?
obnoxious.
I literally asked Jason before. Hold on. We're gonna air this out right now.
Yeah.
Before we left on Tuesday, I said, Jason, I want to do a Cavs show Wednesday. What do you got going? He's like, I'm busy. I said, do you care if I do it without you? He said, no. I don't care.
I don't care. Please, by all
He
means.
obviously doesn't care. Also, by the way, it's a little embarrassing you're still referring to them as the core 4. They don't deserve a nickname.
That is what they are called. Well, for better or worse, that is what
It's
they are
like
called.
calling Daniel Jones Danny Dimes. When you haven't done anything, you don't earn a nickname.
Fair enough.
can't
We
call
got a
him Danny
groundbreaking
Dimes.
report,
Sucks.
Tyvus, this morning from Woj that the Lakers are now targeting Dan Hurley to be their head coach. And we'll talk about what that means for LeBron in a sec. But I want to look at it from the opposite angle for the Cavs to start. J.J. Redick was apparently the front runner. Up until this report this morning, the Cavs have already interviewed 6 head coaches that could grow. Do you think J.J. Redick is now on the Cavs' radar as a potential head coaching candidate to replace J.B. Bickerstaff?
Yeah, I mean,
And should he be?
Yeah, bring him in. I mean, we at the point where it's an open thing anyways. You should do your due diligence on everybody and make sure that, he's not a guy that you want, or maybe he might spark your interest. Yeah. I think if the Lakers had an interest in him and he was smart enough to almost have that job, which it's not nothing's on the paper yet, so he still could end up being that. But if he's available and he wants to take a look at the Cleveland job and you want to get a look at him, bring him in. What's the harm of giving him an interview?
Jason, does J.J. Redick, what's his coaching experience?
Maybe he's got AAU kids. I don't know.
No thanks.
Yeah, like
I don't want an NBA coach who's
The rest of them is all assistants.
That's experience as a coach, though.
I don't think Redick has nothing to do with the Cleveland search. I don't like they could have
That was
brought him
about
in.
his LeBron relationship, right?
And I mean maybe he will be a great head coach someday.
Sure.
But they
You
tried.
wouldn't let him get an interview?
They could interview him anyway. Like they could have interviewed
See,
him.
that's what I'm saying. I ain't saying hire the guy.
Like James Borrego is on both the Lakers and the Cavs list. If the Cavs were interested in J.J. Redick, they would have interviewed him already. So the Cavs spent this week doing Zoom interviews with everybody, and they start bringing candidates to town next week. So if you haven't gotten a call by now, if you're waiting on that Cavs coaching job, you're probably not getting it. So
So they were too cheap to bring everybody in for the first round?
No, it's not cheap. It's just they just
So the wine and dine that starts now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this week was all Zooms. Next week is in person, but I don't think Redick's a candidate. And, I mean, the Nets tried it with Steve Nash, and that did not work. Steve Kerr obviously came out of the booth and coached, but he did have front office experience prior to that.
Right.
Been around the game for a long time, and Kerr obviously has been terrific with Golden State. Doesn't mean it works every time. So
Steve Nash was also in a tough spot with those players.
Yeah.
Like some malcontent players.
They wanted him. They basically picked
know.
him. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think Redick will be a candidate here.
All right, Mike. Let's get
Should
to
he,
this new
real
game.
quick?
No?
Well, no, I want to call
Oh.
Jason out because Jason texted me and said I spelled his name wrong. Jason, look at your phone. It is actually 1D in Redick.
Is
I had
it?
to spell check myself this morning. But
That's
is.
always fun when somebody calls you out, but they're wrong.
I know.
Yeah,
Feels
because you
good.
got all the ammunition.
I'm
you
sorry,
need.
you're right. It looked wrong to me. It looked wrong to me.
Well, it's funny because I actually put it with 2 Ds this morning, and then when I was searching for pictures, nothing was coming up. And I was like, what am I spelling wrong?
So shouldn't it
And
be
learned
pronounced
was one-
Redick?
Maybe that's why the Cavs won't hire him.
You are ridiculous.
Way to play the game.
Real quick, before we move on to the other side of this
Yeah.
move,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jason, I'll start with you with this. You mentioned if you haven't got a call yet, you probably aren't going to get a call for this Cavs coaching search. Are you surprised anyone in particular hasn't gotten the call yet? We know 6 guys have gotten permission or interview and have been requested, but are you surprised anyone hasn't?
No,
That's
I
not on
don't.
that
I don't
list?
remember who all's on the list now, but I don't. I think we've heard all the names that we thought we were going to hear. Right? Is there one that I'm missing?
Jaeger hasn't got the call yet.
Mark
That's the only one
Jackson.
that's been surprising.
Oh, Jaeger never got a call. That one surprises me a little bit, just because he was here.
Mark
Is
Jackson.
it possible
months
they
ago.
did and we just didn't hear about it?
Sure.
Because they didn't have to request permission since he does.
No, he's on.
Oh, that's right. He ended up on a coaching staff.
Yeah,
I
he's
forgot.
I do know
Milwaukee.
Jaeger
Yeah.
just got back from Italy yesterday. I have a little inside info that he just got back from Italy, so maybe that one's still coming.
Who's that guy in that picture? Is that Chris Quinn?
That's Chris Quinn.
He looks like, a hitter for the Giovanni family, one of the mob families.
He's got a shovel in his trunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess Jaeger would surprise me if he didn't at least get interviewed, because he was just here a few months
Right.
ago. But otherwise, those are all about the names that we thought we were going to hear, right? Adelman was the late addition. That was a surprise. I hadn't heard that one at all. But that was the only one that hadn't really come up yet.
Tyvus
The potential connection to this. Obviously, there's been these rumors today that the Lakers are, well, not rumors. Woj, gave us the privilege of hearing one of his reports, and it said that not Bobby Hurley,
Dan.
Dan Hurley. Keep my Hurley straight. Dan Hurley, the head coach of UConn, has done a great job there. Apparently, the Lakers are bringing him in. They're going to pay him a boatload of money. But a lot of people feel like he won't be a great fit with LeBron, and why could that potentially help the Cavs or factor in?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in one sec, but as always, this next segment and this conversation about LeBron is brought to you guys by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you, so it's important to let that out, especially to someone who is unbiased on your life. So today I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking the same thing this week. And what's really got me down this week, guys, is some of these PFF rankings. We spend so much time diving into the greatness of some of these Browns and how good MJ Emerson is, and to see him come up at 34 on this list, it really upset me. And it's hard to overcome those, and that's why I go to therapy on a weekly basis. Therapy can be different for everybody, and most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, but it's important to get help so you can get those things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Boy, you mentioned the Dan Hurley report.
Yes.
That's how we got to the J.J. Redick topic. And
Yeah.
although Dan Hurley is a 2-time national champion, he's had success everywhere he's been a head coach, there are definitely some personality questions to whether or not his style would mesh with NBA superstars like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So we have our LeBron whisperer on the set.
Yeah,
So I figured it was
LeBron
fair to ask the
whisperer.
question, if the LeBron and a Hurley pairing wasn't necessarily cooked up by the LeBron side, does that open the door even more for LeBron to come home, Jason?
I've said I'm on record. I think there's a chance he comes back. Everybody, though, I don't talk to this guy anymore. Like, I've had probably 7 to 8 conversations with LeBron since he left 6 years ago. So I'm by no means tied in. 6 years. Isn't it crazy? It's crazy. We are coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the championship. Like, where does time go?
That is nuts.
Yeah, it's totally freaking nuts. But I people who are around him a lot more than I do say, no, there's no way he's ending his career in LA.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, I don't know. I think there's a chance. And, I think from the Lakers' perspective, they're looking at this as they should and say, LeBron's 39. Like, how much longer does he have?
Right.
And the way that they've been cycling through coaches, I could see them wanting to find somebody with some stability and go out and get a guy. I don't think this is going to work. Like, I don't think this will.
Would he be good with a younger team?
I don't think he would be good in the NBA. I think he's perfect for college.
Sheesh.
Like his his concepts would work, but you're
Yeah.
not going to get the guys to buy in. It's just not the way that it goes.
I co-sign that 100%. By
Yeah.
And the sad part is it would probably work if they did buy in, but like
I mean, this honestly, and I hate bringing this up.
Yeah.
This feels like Blatt all over again.
Oh man.
Because all you heard about was this guy's this coaching genius. And the sets that he runs, and he's so, this is amazing, right? Am I wrong?
I mean,
isn't that
yes,
what you heard?
But I mean, that seems a little.
I think
at least this guy's been coaching in America.
Yes,
That's a little gasoline
but
poured
He
on
knows the younger players.
But
at
I'm
least.
just
Yeah.
saying,
I get what you're
this
saying.
is all the crap that we heard
Yeah.
with Blatt of, oh, you're going to see things that have never been done before, and this guy's this coaching genius.
Yeah.
And he got here, and they looked at him and like, I ain't running that shit. And then LeBron went out and did whatever he wanted. So, and this kind of feels like that. So we'll see.
I just want to know why LeBron decided to come to a Cavs Celtics game.
Because no one had mentioned his name in 2.5 weeks.
So he wanted to get it out there.
Come on, get out there.
We'll see.
I mean, they were in town for Mother's Day.
We'll see.
It was a playoff
Yeah.
game. You want to come, whatever. There's 100 different, you can buy whatever.
You can read into anything
You can,
with LeBron.
yeah, whatever you want. You can.
All right, guys. Before we switch, Mike's got a new game for us that we're going to play here in a
Don't
minute.
clip that Blatt thing, by the way. I don't need the.
No, we won't.
But last thing, real quick. NBA
love
Finals start tonight. Who you got? How many games?
I really want the Mavs to win. I really do. I just think that the Celtics just got too much. I think it's with Chris Stapp coming back.
Is he definitely playing tonight?
I thought he was.
Mike, is Porzingis playing tonight?
He is playing tonight, yeah.
Okay.
I just think it's too much. I think when you think of you got Luka and Kyrie, but then you go against Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Chris Stapp, Drew Holiday. Like it's too much. At some point, it's gonna get overwhelming, and I just think that Celtics in 6. I want the Mavs to win, but I got Celtics in 6.
That's exactly Boston in 6 for me. I thought Boston was my pick before the year. I don't like them. I got so annoyed watching them. I like them less as the year goes on. I've liked them less and less. And after watching that series with the Cavs, I really didn't like them. But I'm going to keep riding the horse. I had them from the start. Give me Boston in 6, but I don't like them.
I'll take the Celtics in 5. Mike?
So my gut tells me the team with the best player, the best closer, and the better coach should win.
That's
And I
Dallas.
lean towards Dallas. However, everyone feels to be leaning towards Dallas outside of you guys.
Really?
And that scares me. ESPN did their 17 expert picks. 9 picked the Mavericks, 8 picked the Celtics.
You just said
But-
everybody. That's basically
Well, no.
that's half and half.
Well, they're a minus. Boston's a minus 225 favorite. So to have 9 of your 17 people pick Dallas when they're literally 2-1 underdogs feels like a majority. My gut tells me Dallas because everyone feels like they're on Dallas. I'm going to go Boston in 7. But I bet on Dallas.
All right, that's a weird.
I bet on Dallas.
Comment.
It feels like it's too many people are picking Dallas for my liking.
Okay,
as
that
an
makes more
underdog.
sense. Yeah.
But
I
That's
felt
Earl, who you got, Earl?
Earl, you got Celtics or Mavs?
I got Dallas.
Earl's the lone dissenter here.
I wanted to be Dallas, boy. I really do.
I don't like either team. I can't root for either team.
I mean, Kyrie, my second favorite player, so I want to see him win. But
There you
I
go.
just don't.
All right. Okay, let's play this new game, Mike. What do we
Yeah, we're
got?
going to play What's More Likely. It's not new. We've done this before, Bull. But
All
you guys know
right,
how it
we
works.
bring
I give
back
you
the game.
guys
Sorry.
2 scenarios. You tell me what's more likely to happen and why. And full disclosure, we had 8. I made these on Monday.
Yeah.
We're only going to do 7 because
Why?
the first one involved Kevin Stefanski getting a contract extension,
Oh.
which has happened. So
Yeah,
that is
that's
out
more
of the
likely.
equation.
1 for
Yeah.
1.
So let's start with number 2, Steve. What is more likely to happen? The Cavs run it back with the same core 4 next season,
Get him
or
with
Nick
core
Chubb leads the Browns in rushing in 2024?
Leads the Browns in rushing.
Oh, the left.
I'm going to say the right.
The left.
I'm with my man Nick Chubb.
Go ahead, Jason. Tell them the truth. Don't tell them what they want to hear. Tell them what they need to hear.
I actually like both of those to happen. I think there's a decent chance both of them happen.
Yeah.
Give me Chubb, though, because who else is going to if it's not him?
And that's what. Here's the reason I would go with Chubb, because even if he only played 10 games this year,
He's
he
still
might
going to
lead
be
the team.
better than.
It's not just that he's better than. They're going to rotate guys.
Yeah.
They've got so many running backs. I know they're not all going to make the team, but like last year, Jerome Ford was the primary back. Kareem Hunt was. I think it's going to be more of a timeshare without Nick Chubb. than it was last year. So I don't think anybody's going to get off to this great start, even if Chubb doesn't play that much early or if not at all.
Jerome Ford going to lead this team in rushing.
All right. I hope not. That's not
Book
good for the
it.
team if it happens.
Book it.
Yeah, that's not good for Nick Chubb's contract if that happens.
What
he
is
ain't getting a lot of those
What does
incentives.
he need?
He ain't hitting those
I
incentives.
don't know all the
Do anybody
incentives.
know his what? Like,
Are
what,
they even public?
I don't think they ever put out the actual numbers.
Yeah, but you hear
for
about
the
these
incentives.
things. You always hear, oh, the guy needs one more touchdown. He needs one more catch.
Those
Can't
usually
be-
come
it
out
can't
towards
be
the end of the year
1,000.
when they're in range, though. Like, it usually comes out in week 16. Hey,
Yeah,
he
right.
needs 200 yards to reach this bonus.
I'm not buying they're sticking with. I'm not calling it that, but I'm not They're not sticking with those 4 guys. I'm not buying it.
All right, next up.
I'll
What's
Koby
more likely
Altman's
to
head on a
happen?
stake if they do that.
Number 2, what's more
Just
likely to
kidding.
happen? The
Not
Guardians win
literally.
103 games, or the Browns win 12?
Guardians.
Guardians win 103.
Yeah.
Y'all sick.
They're on pace for.
They're on pace for more than
I
that
don't
right now.
care.
They're on pace for 108.
I'm sick of y'all
12?
souring the Browns.
How is that sour?
The Browns is going,
Get 'em,
they
Tyvus.
going 17
Get 'em,
and 0
Tyvus.
this year. They going,
Get 'em, Ty.
They going 17 and 0 this
There
year.
we
I'm
go.
sick of this.
That's who you got on your side, Mike. The guy who's saying they're going to go.
Get him,
17.
Ty.
No, because
By the way, if you bet on the Browns going 17 and 0 at online, I saw a price of plus 30,000.
I got 100 on it, Earl. We ain't got to work again.
Plus 30,000.
What number for the Guardians would I had to have put for you to think other? 110?
100 and you were close. With
Not
103.
even. No, I agree with Jason. Not much higher. I just think the Browns winning 12 is very unlikely.
why?
Because the AFC is loaded and the division is
So you're saying the Browns ain't good enough?
The Browns won 11 last year. That is correct?
I don't even
11
know.
last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Browns' schedule on paper is way tougher than last year.
Okay. So
Yes.
even is the Browns tougher than last year?
I don't know.
They'll be healthier.
to start.
Do you know that?
Yes.
No, we don't.
They're back. Except Nick Chubb right now.
Okay.
Even DTR throwing.
I don't know. If you told me, if you gave me guaranteed stats on Deshaun Watson, I'd have a better answer.
Wow, but
I'm going 12.
Here's the
I'm sick of
difference.
that. I'm sick of that
Here's the
stuff.
difference. The Guardians,
Ty.
Guardians going to get 102 and the
the
Browns going to win
Guardians have
12.
data in the bag. The Browns have no data for this year.
they might start tanking at the. They might start resting people. Do they do that in baseball?
No.
Dang.
They get random
I mean,
days
a
off.
little bit,
You
but
get
not-
random days off. For the record, I think there's a decent chance both of the first question happen. I don't think there's a very good chance either of those happen.
No.
But if you're going to make me pick one,
look at
Yes.
this.
I'll take the Guardians.
Yes. I don't
Because
think
they're
the
on
Bra-
pace for 108.
The Browns, I don't
You know
think
what,
the Guardians
Jason?
will win 102, and I don't think the Browns will win 12. But I agree with Jason. If I had to pick, I don't think either's.
You know what?
I don't think either's
You know what?
crazy.
You know what? The last time this panel sat here and
Yeah.
we disagreed on something.
Yeah.
Who won? Who's right so
What are
far?
we talking about?
Me.
About what?
About what?
Home runs.
Here we go again.
We haven't had any disagreements
That's
since
all I'm
then.
saying is-
that was 2 months
Bull.
ago.
All I'm
That's just his way
saying
to
is-
crowbar the Super Bowl
Well,
runs
let me
out
ask
of
you
the
this.
conversation.
What's more likely, 103 for the Guardians or 12 for the Bengals this year?
103 for the Guardians. I don't think the Bengals are going to win 12 either.
Okay.
Why would you think I think the Bengals are going to
The
win?
Browns are winning
What
12 games.
did Baltimore win last year?
13.
13.
12? I don't think even if you asked me with the Ravens, I'd still say the Guardians. I don't
Chiefs.
think anybody in the North's winning 12
What about
games.
Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City I would take.
Hater.
Where are you on this, Mike?
All right, number 3. No. I mean, listen. I think the Guardians is the right answer. I'll be
Yeah, of
honest.
course it's the right answer because they're on pace for it. The Browns don't have a pace.
I don't think the Guardians win 100.
No, I don't think so either, but at least they're on pace for it now.
Right.
Y'all
If the Browns had started 6-0,
sick of this.
well, I'd be like, well, okay,
All right.
then I'd pick the Browns.
Yes,
you know.
of course.
Go ahead, Mike.
Keep this bookmark this clip because somebody gonna be wrong.
That's
it's not
true.
gonna be me.
Yeah.
No, or everyone could be wrong. 'cause
Everyone
the
could be
Guardians
wrong.
win 102 and the Browns win 11, and we're all wrong.
Yeah.
So it could happen, or we could both be
That
right.
would be the most optimistic way we could both be wrong. It could be a lot worse than that.
I pray that
For
I
both.
win this
Or
one.
we could be wrong, or we could both be right
That's
because
true.
the
And
Browns
then
go
it's great.
17 and 0,
Then
and the
it's a
Guardians
happy time.
go 150, 142 and 20.
Go ahead.
Okay, next up. What's more likely to happen? David Fry makes the All-Star team this year, or Amani Bates plays 15 minutes per game for
Neither
the
of
Cavs?
those things. I mean, it's obviously David Fry.
Hey.
You're welcome, Jason.
David Fry's got right now, David Fry's got an argument.
Yes. You ain't done.
Yes. Amani Bates is not going to play 15 minutes a game. There's no chance that's going to happen.
That's not a lot of minutes.
A game?
That one's not
Average
even
that a
close.
game?
That one's not even close, Mike.
For a team trying to win a championship?
Imani Bates plays 15.
Like, David Fry's not going to make the All-Star team because he'll probably cool off and is not, like, what position do you put him at?
That's the problem. Any of them.
But at least there's a chance.
He
like
would
they
make
could add him in as a utility guy. I don't know. They put a utility guy.
I guess you could call him a catcher over and out. He ain't making it in the outfield, and even catcher, there's too much competition.
Yeah, but like there's zero chance Amani Bates is playing 15
between
minutes.
Salvi Perez, Adley Rutschman, and Ryan
zero?
Jeffers. All three of them are more worthy probably than Fry at the catcher position. Although maybe not Jeffers. Maybe Fry over Jeffers. Neither one of those is happening.
Yeah. But I'd give David Fry like a 2% chance.
Yeah.
Amani Bates has no chance of playing 15 minutes a game, right?
He averaged 9 minutes a game this year.
In the G League!
No, in the NBA in 15 games. I didn't say how many games he had to play to average 15.
Well, yeah, if he played one game, yeah, all right. That's lame though. It'd have to be a minimum.
I was only saying that to give you a counter.
I know.
But so neither. So you guys both go Fry though. If you
I'm
had to
going
answer.
Fry. Yeah.
Tyvis, what say you?
I'm going with my MVP, David Fry.
There you go.
I thought for sure you were going to say Bates.
No, David Fry, the best player on the Guardians. I don't care what nobody says.
He's the best story in baseball. It's unbelievable.
It's amazing. Great.
Has anyone done and Zach's probably the most likely to. Has anyone done a full feature?
Yeah, he
on
just
the
did it
Zach?
the other day.
He did that.
Yeah.
Zach is the best beat reporter in Cleveland, in my opinion. I'll tell you that. Nobody else has to comment or say anything. I was just talking about this with Mike before we went on the air.
It's a very odd conversation, by the way, when we had.
Yeah, because you were, whatever. We're not going to get into that.
Glad I'm not a beat writer in Cleveland anymore.
That's
Jeez.
funny.
Why? I'm complimenting somebody. I'm not insulting anybody else.
I'm messing with you.
Yeah, that's fair. Go ahead.
All right, next one. What is more likely to happen? Deshaun leads the NFL in passing yards next season, or Donovan Mitchell leads the NBA in points per game?
Oh, I just realized you were saying like as if I could have been insulting you.
Yes.
But you're not a beat reporter, so you're not on the list.
Yes.
What's more likely? Deshaun Watson leads the NFL in passing yards. Donovan Mitchell leads the NBA in point. Oh, my God.
I'll take Donovan. Go ahead. Call me a Deshaun hater. I take Donovan. Because Donovan can score at a high clip. Now, I don't think he's going to score that high, but
Yeah.
I mean, he scored 70 points in a game.
I'm going to shock you all right now. I'm going to say Deshaun. Now, I don't think there's any chance in hell that either of these are happening.
No, I don't think so either.
But if I had to pick, I would say there is a 0.00001% chance that Deshaun Watson leads the league in passing yards and a 0 chance that Donovan Mitchell. It's just,
I don't think it's 0.
there's a hierarchy in the NBA, and as high as he is, he ain't at the top of that
I'm
hierarchy.
going to let you know something right now.
When did he...
I'm going to let you know something.
You pull tooth out or?
No.
Where did Donovan finish last year?
He finished in the top 10, but on the back end of the top
Wait
10.
a minute. Let me.
He ain't finished.
Unless Luka Doncic is not playing next year, there's no way Donovan Mitchell is leading the NBA in points. I'm going to just tell you that right now. So
that's a good
by
one. By
default, I'm going with Deshaun Watson
right, even though we
because
know
of
it's not
that
happening.
simple fact right there.
Well, I know one of them. I know for sure one of them. Well, actually, I can't say that. I was going to say one of them's healthy, but I can't say that with Donovan. He's coming off the knee. I just think there's too many questions with Deshaun.
There is, but if, like, Deshaun Watson in 2020, didn't he lead the league in passing?
He did.
So it's possible. Like, we know Donovan Mitchell's not going to be number one in scoring.
If Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen get mugged and have both of their knees broken.
Wait a minute. When Cam
and they
Newton,
spend 3 months in the
I
hospital.
just literally said it's a .000.
Do you know who led the
when
NFL
Cam
in passing
Newton
yards
won
last year?
MVP, did he lead? Do you know if he led the
I don't
NFL
think
in
so.
passing yards?
Who?
I don't think so.
Has Josh
Cam Newton.
Allen ever led the NFL in passing yards?
I looked that up and said, do you know who led the NFL in passing yards this year? Top 3.
Who led it this
Stroud.
year? Dak
Stroud was not top 3.
Dak Prescott.
Dak was 3.
Oh, yeah.
Allen was 4. by the way.
Jared Goff.
He was 2. And who was 1?
It wasn't Mahomes.
Who? No, I think he fell out. Was it Sam Howell?
It was not Sam
He
Howell.
got benched.
He was on it for
He
a
was
while.
hot early in the year.
Mahomes was 6th.
Who? Tua?
Tua.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
So let's not pretend every year it's guys
Right.
that
So if Tua could lead it, it's possible, Watson. It's unlikely.
You
I'll
wanna-
still take Donovan.
You a hater.
I'm not.
You are such a hater, Jason.
Okay.
It's sick.
Yeah, rile up the masses.
it is
on him.
sick how much of a
not fair.
homer Jason is.
Oh,
it
my
really,
God,
it really
that's
grinds
funny.
my gears that Jason is such a homer on this show.
Yeah, I
wish
can't
he would
believe
just be
people call you a
unbiased.
homer, of all things.
What did you say, Mike? Somebody left a comment that I'm a
It was
homer?
on one of our clips the other day that
You're
was
too
like,
much
I
of a
can't believe
homer.
Jason and his homer takes get to be on this show.
That's
and I
me,
just-
baby.
I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
I
You
sleep
guys
in
ready
my
for the next
calf
one?
sheets.
You've been too nice
in
lately.
my Browns pajamas.
Seems like you've been too nice lately.
And like one of those Guardians night hats
Yes.
like that some people wear.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
We got one more sports related and two fun ones.
Yeah.
Last sports related one. What is more likely to happen this season? Evan Mobley makes the All NBA team next year, or Ben Lively finishes this season with a sub 3.3 ERA. He's currently at 2.83.
How many All NBA teams are there?
3, so 15 players
three?
total. And there's no
Lively.
more positions. It's just 15 players total.
Dang.
Lively.
That's where
If
you
it was All-Star, I'd take Mobley.
That's where you at.
All NBA is hard to make. It's hard.
Hold on, wait. So
How
that
many
means
All NBA teams has Donovan made? Like 2?
2.
but he a big man though.
So?
Positions don't matter anymore, Tyvus. It's
Oh,
just-
really?
Yeah, there's
You know,
So it's just top 15.
I mean, like LeBron was third team this year, wasn't he? I think LeBron was third team All NBA.
I think he ended
and
up
Mike
being
gave a
second.
good, like a high enough number on the ERA that made it tough.
Whew.
Or I'm sorry,
Yeah, I'm
that
going-
made it easier.
Yeah.
Like you should have had, like,
Oh, and real quick, sorry, I take that back. Donovan's made 1 All NBA team.
wow.
Oh, Ben
Evan Mobley's got
Lively.
no chance. So Ben Lively. Now what you should have done, Mike, is had like a
3.
3 or a 2.80 ERA for Ben Lively.
Three.
Then it would have made it tougher. But at 3.30,
I didn't know they did.
I don't think he's going to have it under 3.30 ERA.
I did not know they
But-
did just the top 15. I thought it was like
It's this year.
Yeah,
Guard,
Evan Mobley's got
guard,
no
forward,
shot of being a
forward.
top 15 player next
If you
year.
look at his career ERAs, though, Bull, 4.26,
You don't have to tell me. I know his career ERAs are
27,
awful.
5.38. So this is
They're awful across the board. I
But
get
baseball,
That's
it. Baseball's weird, and you have guys that have surprising
Yep.
years sometimes.
Yep.
Let me make it clear. Ben Lively has a, I'll say a 1% chance of an ERA under 3.30.
Oh, it's higher than that.
Well, you 5?
Yeah, 10. I'll give him 10.
I think that's too high.
10.
Homer.
But it's baseball.
That's it. There I am gassing up the fans again.
There is no chance that Evan Mobley is going to be a top 15 player. If Donovan Mitchell has made 1 All-NBA team, there's no chance Evan Mobley's going to make an
he
All-NBA.
would have made it this year if he qualified. That,
What?
you should
So it would have been
clar-
2.
If
should clarify
Evan, like say they hired his coach and he turns into like they turn
And
him
they
into
trade Jared Allen, and he becomes the focal point. of
yeah,
the
and they
offense.
trade him
And
and
still
he turned into like Bam Adebayo. Like he could make it.
How many All-NBA teams has Bam Adebayo made?
I don't know if he's made any.
Is that right?
Bam.
Bam Adebayo has made. He's a 3-time All-Star,
Yeah.
I don't think he's made any.
and he's made 5 All-Defensive teams, but has never made an All-NBA team.
Yeah, there you go.
Ben Lively.
All right, Mike. Let's go to
Okay, we have
non-sports
2
now.
kind of silly ones to wrap it up here. Then we got a bunch of super chats today, like a
Good.
bunch of super chats. Number 7, Steve. What's more likely to happen? Bull gets ejected from a Little League game this season for arguing balls or strikes, or Anthony makes it through an entire month without sustaining an injury in his sleep. Now, for people who don't understand, Anthony has sprained his wrist while sleeping this week and has apparently pulled and strained his shoulder and is on an immense amount of ibuprofen on a daily basis
Jeez,
right
Anthony,
now.
you're a mess.
So I'll let Anthony chime in. That's his dad, who's in way better shape. And
Anthony's the youngest person on our show.
Yeah, no, I went to Chicago and my body just fell apart.
What
It's
a
been
mess.
almost a month and I've been in pain since.
Anthony, tell us how you hurt your wrist again.
I have no idea.
you fall out of bed?
They think it was
I
me
think he just
moving
doesn't want to
first.
say it in front of his dad.
There are children in the room, yes.
Anthony,
children.
how'd you hurt your shoulder, Anthony?
Once again, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I joined the Rec Kickball League for Channel 3, so I'm going to hurt my legs next.
So what's more likely, Bull gets ejected or Anthony stays healthy?
I think
Anthony's
Anthony's just fragile because he slid in that softball game last
Yeah.
year and his leg was tore up for 6.5 months.
Yeah. But I'm not going
Yeah,
to
but
get
that was on
ejected
turf.
from a game.
Wait, Anthony Fragilelli?
Fragile.
By the way, if I was going to get ejected from a Little League game, it would have happened the last 2 years because there was one incident each of the last 2 years where I yelled at an umpire, and then I apologized later. But last night was the first time the umpire blew a call against us, and I was annoyed.
Did you Bickerstaff him?
But what I did was I called timeout, and I went and talked quietly with the umpire, and I said to him, quote,
You don't do anything quietly.
I'm telling you, as quietly as I can. I wasn't yelling. I walked up to him, and I was like, are you sure he was safe at first? That's what I said.
Are your umpires adults or kids?
They got a kid?
They're young. Young.
What do you mean? When you say kid, what do you mean?
Teen?
We have 5.
Calling the game?
This guy is probably like 18 to 20. We have 3 umpires that are like older.
Yeah.
And then we got 2 that are like 18 to 22.
High school kids. In the rec leagues in Avon Lake, you got a lot of high school kids.
He could be a high school kid. I think he's in college.
Yeah.
I think he's in college. I think I remember him saying something about going back to college.
I feel like
But I didn't want. I had yelled at this guy last year at his first game because he made a really bad call. And I shouldn't have yelled because he's learning too. So this time when I was annoyed at a call, I just called timeout. And I went and talked to him. I said, hey.
Look at you.
Are you sure he was safe at first?
You know
and
what?
he said, yeah, it was a close play. Now, he was wrong, but I didn't lose it. I stayed calm. Hopefully next time a close call will go my way.
You know what, boy? You get a gold star.
Thank you, Ty. I want that. Do I get a Buckeye?
You get a leaf. I get you a leaf for that one.
Yeah. All right, Mike. So I'm going with Anthony.
I'm going with Anthony, too, because the odds is just in those favors right now.
I'm going with Bull.
He's going with me getting kicked out of the game. It is possible.
All right, last one.
I'm going to tell the umpire to kick you out.
Last one, and then I got some chat results because we were asking them some of these too. And then we got a bunch of super chats. What's more likely to happen? Earl admitting MJ Emerson isn't the best player on the Browns, or Tyvus admitting he isn't elite at a sport?
Oh, Earl. Tyvus will never admit that.
No, here's the
The
difference.
man threw a golf club in the water and says he's elite.
There's a significant.
Why you bring that up?
There's a significant difference in these two situations. Earl knows that MJ Emerson is not the best player on the Browns. He knows that, but that's just his thing because he loves Emerson, and I get it. Tyvus truly believes he is the greatest in every sport.
I feel like that I am very athletic.
You are.
And I feel like if you give me the opportunity, I can figure it out and I could be really good.
Yes.
That's what I believe.
See?
I mean that's what an athlete is. You put
you're
them in the sport and boom, they just figure it out.
I'll say you're the best athlete on this show. That doesn't say much. No offense, Mike.
Hey.
No, Tyvus is a better athlete than me. I'm not going to argue that.
All I'm saying.
I've never tripped and fallen doing a ladder drill. That's all I know.
Have you ever done a ladder drill?
Yes.
Wow.
It took me a minute to finish it, but I didn't trip and fall.
But see, the problem is, when you hear my story, my horror stories like that, you listen to that part. But see, what you don't get is, I got back up and I kept going. It was fine.
I would get up and go to the car.
If this were like a montage in a movie, that would have been the low point.
Exactly.
You
know,
like
like
sad music.
Yeah.
You would have been despondent, but then you got back up.
That's right. You know, they start pumping the music back up, and I'm like, let's go, run it again.
We need to make the Tyvus Powell story.
Just telling you.
Let's go. Let's get that movie going.
Earl would admit that MJ is it.
He knows MJ was not the best player on the Browns. That's crazy.
Do you believe that?
He does not believe that. I do not believe
Earl, you really think, like, over everybody, like Miles and all them?
No, that's just my thing. Miles the best player. I would say MJ probably second, but
even that I'm not buying. But still, I knew he knows. That's his guy. I get it.
All right, the Guardians just announced their lineup for today, Bull.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting. Steve, take the ag board full. We have Daniel Schneemann starting in center field. Starting center field tonight.
Do well.
Quan in left, Jimenez at second, Jose at third, Naylor at first, Manzardo batting fifth at DH, Brennan in right, Schneemann in center, batting seventh, Naylor catching, and Rocchio playing shortstop, which means no David Fry in the lineup today. Which
Boo!
I'm a little
Fry,
upset
no
about,
Freeman.
but
Freeman getting a day off.
Boo!
That's all right. He can't play. You know, you got to give some guys opportunity.
I didn't know
Fry's-
Schneemann played center field as well.
I mean, they're thinking of him as a utility guy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're seeing what he's got as a utility guy. So that's interesting.
Does he get a hit? Didn't he get it? He did well his first.
He got an RBI double his first.
first
time.
time.
First
In his
pitch.
second
First
game,
pitch,
he got a
yeah.
hit too.
His first. Well, that's because he knew that they was gonna throw him a strike.
Turned on an inside fastball.
Yeah.
Pull it down the line.
Taught him everything he knows.
I mean, Fry's playing almost every day, so I'm not going to kill him. For
We got a bunch of super chats.
Yeah.
Like a ton today, so let's get
Good.
into them. Sly Says, random question for Jason. Was Hugh Jackson actually extended 1 year, or was he just lying about that like he lied about everything else?
No, he was extended.
Yeah, he was extended.
Yeah, I got that from the Browns.
Right.
That he was, someone with the Browns told
What
me
they
that.
were thinking, I have no idea.
It must have been coming off I was doing the Cavs then, so I don't. 0-16. What came first, the 1 win or the no win?
1 win. He got
win
yeah,
came
1
first.
win. He got extended. I know for a fact he got extended
got
because I was there when
and
he had switched to Rock Nation. I think Jay-Z was his people that he got extended.
He got a 1 year extension.
Remember after the 1-15, people were like, well, it can't get worse. It got worse. And the only win they had was that weird Chargers game, right?
On
with
like
the field
Christmas
goal.
Eve.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
right.
December 23rd, 24th.
Something like that.
He got extended
Yeah.
that OTA because I remember him announcing.
Right, because there was a lot
He
of
announced it to everybody. That
I mean, because I knew he switched
Yeah.
to Jay-Z's company because Jay-Z
the
had
reason it's
started
coming
up
up is because a lot of people were saying it's the first Browns coach to get a contract extension.
Yeah, not true.
So somebody said since the Bush administration, but obviously that's not true.
Hugh Jackson for sure got an extension. It's
All right.
unbelievable.
Next one.
And then his pants fell down when he jumped in the water.
Well, that's ironic because our next super chat comes from Mini Farts. He didn't send a message, just sent $5. So Mini Farts, thank you very much for the super
a lot
chat,
of
I
farts.
guess. Anthony, not Anthony Fragiletti, but Anthony from the super chat says, do you put any weight to Chubb's recovery from injury in college? He came back in 11 months. In his first game back, he had 32 attempts for 222 yards.
Was it to say he didn't tear? He had two tears.
Usually, if you tear it twice, it's even harder to come
Right,
over.
but no, but his first tear wasn't that just the ACL?
Oh, I'm not.
I
thought
can't
he
remember that.
I don't
because
know.
he tore 2 ligaments this time.
Yeah.
He had 2 surgeries. Maybe he did in college. I can't remember now, but I feel like he only had it was just the ACL. But obviously, I could be wrong. It's so many years now. At this point, I think we've all said this. If anybody could come back from this injury, you'd bet on Nick Chubb more than any other player.
Nobody's saying he ain't coming back. It's when he's coming back.
You know,
That's
it's
what I
less
said.
than opening day is less than a year
I
from
just
the
don't.
surgery.
I don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't see it.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
all right, Mike.
Next up's from DB Dog 21, who says, I owe you guys for a previous super chat. I saw the payment didn't go through. How do I send it in? Afterwards, don't worry about it. I have no idea. I don't know how to answer that. So,
Yep.
Slim Shaney says, I really want Bo, but what do you think about Brent Rooker? He's a bad defensively, but could play right field. We would have a 30 home run a year outfielder locked up until 2028.
He's
Brent
a thumper.
Rooker.
He's a thumper for Oakland. He strikes out a lot. Less swing and miss.
I'm not.
Oh, so he's like.
Listen. If you could get him cheaply, I could live with it. I don't love locking down a spot for a guy that I think is kind of one-dimensional, and I know more power would. I'm not a big fan of him.
Yeah.
Like he's the type
him or
of guy.
Fran Mill.
Oh,
He's Fran Mill-ish.
yeah, a little bit.
I love him, dude.
Yeah.
Let's trade.
I mean,
him.
listen, he's better than what they got right
Yeah.
now.
I mean, that's the thing.
know,
do you
but-
want to roll with Manzardo, or are you trying to upgrade that spot?
I'm rolling with Manzardo. Honestly, lineup-wise, I would look for a shortstop. I don't even want to do catcher because
Naylor's elite
Would they?
is a pitch
which is
framer.
amazing because
Yeah.
you wouldn't have thought that coming into the year.
Would
And I
they if they did trade for Bo,
Yeah.
would Manzardo be a part of that trade?
No.
No, okay.
for who?
Bo.
Bichette.
Oh, bullshit. No.
No. You would trade
You would trade
Juan Brito.
DeLauder.
DeLauder might be part of it,
DeLauder might be part of it.
especially if you get a pitcher. Now
Yeah,
DeLauder's definitely
yeah.
in there.
You're trying to trade like your 3rd, your 7th, 8th, 11th type prospects in your system, something like that.
I think
DeLauder is number 1.
if you're trading, well, Manzardo was number 1 at the start of the season, right?
DeLauder
Or
was
DeLauder
higher.
number
DeLauder
1?
was higher.
You
Depends on where you look.
It depends. I don't know that you have to trade DeLauder necessarily to get Bichette. Now, if you're going to get a frontline pitcher, you probably have to trade DeLauder.
Yeah.
I'd trade him in the right deal. To me, I'd trade anybody currently in their system, not on the Major League roster, and I include Gavin Williams on the Major League roster, even though he's on the injured list. But anybody in the system, including DeLauder, in the right trade, I'm willing to deal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, next two come from Charles T. They're related, so I'm going to read them as one. Charles T., our guy from, I believe, Germany, says, Looking at Dallas, do you feel the same about the JB firing? Jason Kidd got blamed for the offense and the team taking a step back after the Kyrie trade. Then Kyrie decided he would play Robin, and it all works now. JB, no matter who was on the court, his team took a step forward each year, and we still fired him. Dallas kept Kidd, and the players figured it out, and now look at them. So the question is, do you feel any differently about the JB firing, seeing how the Dallas situation with Jason Kidd panned out?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas was already playing really well when they fired him and we commented on it.
Yeah,
so.
no, Dallas doesn't make me change. I mean,
No.
JB was fired a lot because of Donovan. Like,
Right.
That's
the way it
honestly
works.
why.
Plus, he had no ability to design an offense.
The offense could have been better. Now, there's a difference between more confetti falling
Still
from
confetti.
3 months
Another
ago.
piece of confetti.
Incredible.
I do think that there's, like, yes, the Cavs could have been more sophisticated offensively than what they were, but then the other extreme is what Dan Hurley's trying to do. Like, there's some ground here in the middle.
Right.
Of can we just run a horn set once in a while? You know, like, it doesn't have to be quite to that, because I don't think he's going to get NBA players to buy into it. That's just my personal.
What is a horn set? I have no idea about
It's
what
just
it
a
is.
basketball player.
We're gonna do a do you know ball test later in the summer,
Okay.
where I'm gonna ask you guys questions like
To
that.
find
so.
out. Well, you already know I don't know what a horn set is.
What if Dan Hurley's Billy Donovan?
Maybe he is. I don't think he
Was
is.
Billy
Well, it's not our
Donovan been
problem.
good in the NBA though?
He hasn't been a bust.
Yeah.
He's been okay.
He's been okay.
He was a great college coach. He's been an okay NBA coach.
Yeah.
Next up, Batmane, Mane, says, "Bull, you owe Kyrie an apology."
I owe Kyrie nothing. What do I owe him an apology for?
I'm just reading the super chat.
I owe him nothing. And I thought we had a very thoughtful conversation about Kyrie either yesterday or the day before.
Yesterday.
But I owe him no apology. That's absurd.
Armac Dog says, since JB was fired, Koby Altman will be on the hot seat to fix the roster before the season starts. Would the UCSS panel trade Garland and Niang for a stretch 3 in either Kuzma or Brandon Ingram?
No, I'm not taking Ingram. I just don't like the dude really at all.
I mean, who cares about Niang? That's, you know.
You said Garland and Niang for Kuzma.
Either Kuzma or Ingram.
I'm not trading for Ingram. So Kuzma.
Well, Ingram, I know is injury prone, but he's better than Garland, isn't he?
They're both. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think they're both flawed players. You're trading flaws for flaws, but they also have good qualities.
But
too.
wouldn't he fit better with Darius? I mean, with
Ingram?
Donovan?
I think Ingram would. I'm higher on it than Mike is.
Okay.
I think Darius, Ingram, and Evan. That's not bad.
So would you make either of those trades? Well, you do it for Ingram.
I could live. I don't. Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know.
Mike, would
I
you
don't
make
know.
those trades? Mike.
Hold on one sec.
Yeah. What's happening?
Tanner Bybie's not 11-1 this year, is he?
No.
Yeah, that's wrong, Earl. That's got to be wrong.
What? Where'd that come from out of the blue?
Bleacher Report sent the pitching matchup for the guard. Yeah, Tanner
why-
Bybie's 4-1. They're way off. Earl.
Who
Now
cares?
maybe they've won 11 games that he has started.
I guess
he's only
it's
4.
possible.
What was your question? Sorry, I was.
Would you make those trades? We're asking you. You're thrown off here.
You could talk me into both of them, and you could talk me out of both of them.
That's kind of where I am. Like I truly don't know.
It feels like they need a change. I don't know.
Next up, from Divergent XXX. Also, real quick before, and I sent these to Jason, we're going to do a Bleacher Report asked me to put together Darius Garland trades, so I got a big list, so we're going to do that next week at some point. So we'll go over a bunch of potential Darius Garland trades. And Kuzma and Ingram are both in that discussion, so
All right.
We'll get to that. Divergent XXX says, y'all want, and you can read this one.
I don't want to read this one.
Read this one.
What is happening?
I just want Ant to read this one.
Hooked on phonics.
All right, everybody name your favorite sports movie, goofy comedy movie, 80s TV sitcom, and animated shows of all time. I'm not reading the rest of that.
I didn't get the first part, so I was going to have Anthony do it, but I guess he didn't get it either.
I mean, off the top of your head, I don't know. There's like 8 different questions.
Let's pick one. Favorite animated show of all time.
Dragon Ball Z.
I don't like any anime.
I don't watch anime. I don't watch.
Favorite 80s sitcom.
Favorite 80s.
I wasn't alive.
Cosby Show.
No, Sanford and Son.
Cosby Show, Moonlighting, Who's the Boss, and Growing Pains were my go-tos.
And favorite sports movie.
Well, Moonlighting, not a sitcom.
Yeah, kind of.
Favorite sports movie.
Any Given Sunday.
Oh, it's overrated. In my
Major
opinion.
League. Come on,
Take
now.
it back.
overrated.
Take it back.
Major
Are you
League.
sick?
That scene where he does the speech is great. But a lot of the movie, the uniforms look ridiculous.
Steaming.
A lot of the football looked very fake.
Of course, you're picking a football movie.
What is that supposed to be? What are you,
of course
blue
you-
chips?
What did you say, Major League?
Major League.
Blue Chips.
The
movie,
program. How about that?
Draft Day, terrible movie.
Awful movie.
The
I
program.
like the program. That was good.
Program's good.
Thank you.
Bull Durham and Major League.
Remember the Titans.
Good.
That's my favorite
More
football
confetti.
movie.
More confetti.
Coach
of all
Carter.
time. Coach Carter's great. The original Bad News Bears.
Hustle.
The Natural.
Hustle.
I don't know if it's. Oh, Hustle. Yeah.
Rookie of the Year. I was about to watch that.
Bull
the other
Durham and
day.
Major League. There is no other answer.
The Mighty Ducks.
That ain't it. What do you got?
I mean, we just named a bunch.
D2 though. Now the first one was all right. The second Mighty Ducks was the best one.
And then it went off the rails. It was number 3.
We got two more, Bull.
We're out of time. Oh, no, we'll go
No,
a
we
couple
got two
minutes.
more. We're going to do them all. Batman also says the only balls Bull's going to get ejected over is meatballs.
I thought that was going somewhere else at first.
Oh, man.
I don't know where we were going with that.
What's funnier, that tweet or that he paid money to have us read that tweet? That's funny.
Charles T, last
Gripping the
super
chair
chat
on that one.
says, who would be the best sumo wrestler on the show, Tyvis? So he's asking Tyvis.
Oh,
who
definitely
would be the
me,
best
but go
sumo
ahead.
wrestler?
This is a layup.
Yeah.
It's definitely 100%.
Although we got G. Bush.
Well, G. Bush is physically.
I would pay a lot of money to put you two in diapers
I
and watch
actually,
you run.
that's a great
I
summertime.
mean, G. Bush is probably stronger than me. He's much bigger, and
But
he's 10 years
he's-
younger
I
than
just
me.
want to see you guys in diapers running
Jason-
into each other.
G. Bush might be
Tyvis.
good for one push, and then he's like.
I'll tell you something.
Who's more likely to get hurt? And then I want to hear this.
Probably
Or
G.
G.
Bush.
Garrett's always
We
hurt.
probably both get hurt.
His back,
honestly.
his neck. That guy's a mess.
I want to see Bulls 40 clip.
I'll tell you
40
something.
time clip again.
I wish they would have had when I was a kid. Okay, in New York City, nobody had all the hoity-toity kids that went to private school had wrestling. Public schools in New York, nobody had wrestling.
Really?
That wasn't a thing. I think I would have been as a kid a good wrestler because I was squat,
Scrappy.
strong.
Scrappy.
I would have been a good wrestler, but it was not an option.
I never thought to wrestle.
My son
That was during basketball
My son is
season.
taking a wrestling camp, doing a wrestling camp next week.
Oh, yeah?
Because he wants to try it this winter.
Good
That's
for
my
you.
first time.
It's
Yeah.
one sport we never got into.
I tell you what,
no.
it's flexibility.
AJ be good at wrestling, probably.
The coaches have basically tried to recruit him for every sport.
No, you're not
at the
interested
school.
in wrestling? All right.
No.
Football it
Going
is.
to the Guardians game.
We'll see you over there.
Guardians
game.
Peace.
I tell you what, they say.